Allrounders Chapter 26 to 45. Sword suddenly raised his voice. I think you should take the rank-up exam in the next town. That said, let's dive into a dungeon, he mentioned out of the blue. Then again, I know that he tends to be rather abrupt in his words and actions. In other words, you're saying a dungeon is conveniently nearby? Yep. Think it's going to be a breeze for you, but it'll be your first time in a dungeon, right? Let's go check it out. Dude, you're saying it with a mood as if telling us to go check out a game center since it's right around the corner. So, what's a dungeon in the first place? Why did Sword's expression immediately screw up when hearing that? You sure love theoretical stuff, don't you? No one thinks about what a dungeon might be. No, you should actually think about it. That means it's different from a simple cave which got infested by monsters? Indeed. Well, how to say it? It's at least not that. According to one theory, dungeons seem to pop up at places where magic elements accumulate, but the details are unknown. A dungeon core exists in the deepest part of the dungeon, and if you break that, the dungeon is going to disappear, but that's forbidden. I get the reason more or less, so I'll pass on asking any further. As you've guessed, dungeons are quite profitable. A dungeon won't be destroyed unless it's an emergency. Break-in it counts as a serious crime. Then again, you won't be able to return alive either way. Figures. If the dungeon collapses because the dungeon core has been destroyed in the deepest part, getting out sounds unrealistic. So, don't break the core, even by mistake. What should I do if I don't know what the dungeon core looks like? That's why I'll come along as your navigator. Don't let go of my hand and do as I tell you. Okay? Got it. What about Ryoku? I wonder whether the dungeon is wide enough for him to enter. You've brought him, so just take him with you. He's your golem. Take him to the exam as well since he'll be counted as a weapon. That's only if you get him registered as golem, though. I didn't mean it like that, but it sounds like he'll fit in the cave. In that case, I'll of course take him with me. I'll have him learn lots and lots of new stuff. For heaven's sake. That thing is more like a tamed monster than a golem. He's been regularly striking up conversations with me. The same applies to you as well. Ryoku's learning function is doing its job. He's memorized a lot of things already, hasn't he? Sword turned red. He always acts cold and indifferent towards Ryoku in front of me, but whenever I'm not looking, he's chatting away with Ryoku like an old granny, with a feel closer to teaching a minor language than training a dog to shake hand. I guess he must have been quite happy about Ryoku remembering and then doing or saying whatever Sword casually taught him. Come on, let's go. Yeah, good job at glossing over your embarrassment. I think doing a dungeon run yourself is quite a challenge. If a map of the place has been sold, you should get it, even if it's somewhat costly. I've got the map for this place, but this time we'll go without map. Just as it stunned her in the exam. So they got the concept of mapping in this world? It's that, isn't it? What I've done in a game a long time ago. Writing a map on a piece of paper. When I tried to enter the dungeon, I got stopped. It's dark inside a dungeon. Really? The dungeon core isn't tactful and provides illumination or something similar? What do you take a dungeon core for? You won't receive the same hospitality in a dungeon as in a noble mansion. Idiot. I see. What a bummer. N0VLSP.C0M. When I combined my otherworld knowledge and the stories I've heard, dungeons kinda sounded like attractions to draw in customers. Okay. Since it couldn't be helped, I equipped a lamp on my head. Hey, what's that? It's a light magic tool. With this shape, it'll allow me to use both my hands on top of illuminating the area ahead of me. Using light magic without a care. Usually you'd use a torch, you know? Do you want to die? If you use fire in a cave with no ventilation, you're going to suffocate. Why would it turn out like that? Fire steals an element from the air while burning. Humans have to breathe that element for their bodies to work. For real? Before considering me to be too much of a theory nut, it'd be smarter for you to ask yourself how things work, I think. Certainly, it's not like the common sense of this world and the other world align in everything. But I've already proven that fire burns on that principle. This world is based on magic elements. You can do anything as long as you've got magic elements. But, it's also true that other components are required as well. Yet, the people here think that nothing else is needed as long as you have access to magic elements. Though my thinking is gradually getting infected by that ideology, too. Torches might be fine if there's an airflow, but I want to keep my hands free. Because of that, this way is more convenient. Has no one ever built anything like this? I mean, torches might have a certain charm, but they lack user-friendliness, don't they? You ain't using M for appearance sake. Also, I've never seen such a magic tool. Even if someone had created it before, I'm sure it'd cost exorbitantly. Or do you think sorcerers capable of using light magic grow on trees? That's the problem. I mean, this doesn't even use light magic to begin with, but whatever. Asterisk. While advancing through the cave, I explained what I've been thinking about. In my eyes, you and other magicians are amazing. Once you chant a spell, fire takes the form of an arrow and flies off or similar, right? Things like golems move by simply ordering them to fight. I have absolutely no idea how that works. If you tell it to fight, it's got no choice but to do that. No. Moreover, golems do nothing but plain swing in their fists or trying to trample something. But that's actually amazing. When I tried to build my golem, I had to first teach it what it means to walk. Huh? No need to get so surprised. People will walk if you tell them to do it because they know what kind of action it is. It's impossible to expect that something that doesn't know the concept of walking would be able to walk just because you tell it to do so, right? It could only walk after learning to understand that walking means lift your right foot and lower it frontwards. Lift your left foot and lower it further frontward than your right foot. And yet even that becomes completely unnecessary by just telling a golem to fight. Making it actually understand all the motions included in that action is super difficult, you know? Sword was lost for words. How are you making Yoku move then? The basic movements have been handled through opening bracket programming closing bracket. In short, he can do them even without having to learn them first. I smirked broadly, or at least intended to do so. I got it that you're proud of it, but don't give me that gross smile while lining up an array of incomprehensible terms. Sword commented, and pulled on my cheeks. But, please teach Yoku a lot more things. By just teaching him what you can, he'll memorize it and become smarter. After all, it's possible that a soul might form in an AI when it comes to this world. I gently caressed Yoku. Asterisk. Fundamentally, I can do anything Yoku can do. But, since I want him to learn, I let him do it. Mapping of the first floor finished. Yoku displays the map with a hologram. Gah? Sword got totally startled. Good boy, well done. I stroked Yoku. We LLD1, is, sting praised. Correct. Tilde you make me all shy. Yoku became bashful. Oi. Yoku has. Sorry. This is part of his basic functions. It's not that he memorized it. I just wanted him to do it since it's cute. Hey, what's with you wasting functions on such nonsense? For some reason I got scolded. What are you saying? Cuteness is justice, you know? Anyway, Yoku, this is a trap. This as well. This is trap. This as WL, trap. This as WL, trap. He immediately learned it, and became capable of identifying other traps after understanding traps. Well done Tilde. Tilde you make me all shy. Good grief, lately I've been wondering whether you're not actually a nutcase. The conversation between Yoku and me earned me a very cold look from Sword. Asterisk. We came all the way to the boss room without running into any problems. As expected, dungeon clearing with the support of a map is boring. It doesn't let me feel the excitement of being on an adventure whatsoever. Listen, never say that in front of ordinary adventurers, got it? Sword hurled a warning at me. I got it. I'm a woman who learns. I looked up at the door leading to the boss room. I'm sure no one has wondered how this door came to be. It's pointlessly extravagant with many ornaments, so it'd be ridiculous if this door had become like this naturally. Oh well, whatever. It just means that anything goes with magic elements. Coming to that conclusion in my mind, I opened the door. The boss orc was sitting on its throne. I'm sorry, okay. But it looks like you'll be revived later anyway. Please forgive me since I'll at least do you the favor of killing you in an instant. Once again, why the hell are you talking to monsters while acting all cool? I was asked by Sword. But don't you think it's awful to selfishly trespass into one's home and slaughter its inhabitants? If a monster were to trespass into my home, I'd certainly get angry, so it's way too arrogant to consider it as fair to trespass into their homes. Even though I say all that, I trespassed and killed the boss. I ran up to it in an instant and delivered a neck chop. Immediately following, The corpse turned into dust and disappeared. So there are monsters leaving behind corpses while others don't, huh? The monsters created in dungeons belong to the latter category. I see, I see. After the dust had dispersed, a magic stone and a treasure chest became visible. Hey, why does a treasure chest appear after defeating the boss? This is definitely a present from the dungeon core. Don't mind the small stuff. Come on, open it. It's not small stuff. What is a treasure chest to begin with? Who has placed it there and why? Is it the management? The dungeon management? When I opened the chest while unleashing that flurry of muttered complaints, Sword commented, "Oh, it's a winner." It contained a medicine bottle. There are winners with treasure chests? It's becoming more and more like an attraction. I suppose this is a giveaway for the sake of entertaining the customers, aka the adventurers. When I unleashed yet another flurry of grumbles, Sword retorted, "Not like it's a problem. You ain't losing out on anything, so stop bickering." "Thank you very much, kind Sir Dungeon Core. I shall humbly accept your gift and go back." If I remember correctly, it went like that. Asterisk. On our way back out, no monsters appeared and no traps got activated either. The dungeon core might as well have provided a door with exit written on it. Asterisk. After we stepped outside, Sword faced me. "Now then, I'm in no mood to criticize the dungeon clearing itself since you're way too eccentric. But I'll at least tell you what you need to watch out for when taking the C rank exam." "Eh? So he's not going to teach me the tricks of clearing dungeons?" "First off, I'll allow you to bring along Ryoku from now on. It'd be best to expose him to many people for the sake of allowing him to become well known, if you're going to act together with him in the future. However, even though the mapping will be fine, that thing, you know, the one that brightened up the area in front of you, is a no-go. If you show off something like that, you'll draw the attention of the army, idiot. You're already standing out by just being together with me, so try to avoid to stand out even more." "Oh, it came out, your excessive self-consciousness. Did you say something?" I fervently shook my head. "I mean, you blabbed about the clearing bin boring while looking at a map, didn't you? So show me how you do it without the light thingy." "Sure." "Is it going to become fun by doing just that?" "Oh well, never mind. I understand. I'm going to enjoy it while thinking of it as an attraction." A map is boorish when visiting an attraction. It'll be the best if I can feel excited by not knowing what might pop out. Raising a fist in the air, I pledged, "You're absolutely right. I'll enjoy it with self-imposed restrictions." The thrilling feeling of an adventure is indispensable. I mean, it's my job after all, though I believe it'd be better for you to stop being an adventurer and focus on magic tool creation. How terrible. Once I pouted, he stretched my cheeks again. "Why you get it into your head that you're upsetting people by just breathing." Adventurers are quick to pick a fight and very short-tempered, so it's dangerous if you run around while naturally pissing off people. Don't do anything looked at. You do realize it, idiot. "Pa, that's not true." Chapter 27. We arrived at the next town, Coda. "Come to think of it, what are your plans going forward? You mentioned that you wanted to a worldwide sightseeing. But there's the matter with the liquor, and leaving for years on end would worry the folks back home." "I'll go to the capital before the hero appears." Going to the most prosperous and flourishing place if you've got the chance is the pet theory of any sightseeing tour, don't you agree? Afterwards, I feel like heading back alongside the sea, as long as we don't have any requests forcing us to do otherwise. "Oh, seafood, huh? Great idea. I'm sure you can make great dishes with stuff caught at sea. Or am I wrong?" "I'd rather say it's my specialty. But you see, the ingredients differ when comparing this world with the other world. Besides, I've been struggling a lot since there's many ingredients I can't get my hands on." I created substitutes for miso and soy sauce. But they're only substitutes because I can't find any yeast plants. You might be doing it different or wrong, but it's pretty obvious going to be quite delicious. You ain't out to make food for royalty, so no some compromising. Girl, I've not been talking about it being delicious or disgusting, just that it's not matching the taste I'm aiming for. When I pouted with both cheeks puffing up, Sword pulled on them. Asterisk. Now then, we've arrived at the guild after causing many people to get overly frightened and startled when seeing Ryoku. This girl is going to take the C rank exam. Please take care of the formalities. Leaving those words, Sword called the guildmaster and went over to talk with him. Staying behind, I chatted with the receptionist. The C rank examination is going to take place in 3 days. she said with a lost look. So I'm in time to take it? If you plan to do so, you can still register. However, the preparations. Preparations? I haven't heard anything from Sword besides it taking place in a dungeon. Is there anything I'd need to prepare? At that moment, the surroundings burst into roaring laughter. This girl is planning to take the C rank exam without even knowing that much? Stop, you better give it a rest, missy. You'll fail anyway. It ain't no exam a little lady can take and pass. Look, even if you've got to D rank through connections, C rank isn't so easygoing. The peanut gallery kicked up a fuss. Sorry, miss. I couldn't quite hear what you said, so could you repeat it please? Do you have any experience in diving into dungeons? Yeah, I went to one just the other day. Somehow it was like an attraction. I grasped that it's a place you can only enjoy for its thrill without making a map. The noise died down. So, what are those preparations you speak of? Are there any materials I need to prepare in advance by killing monsters? The receptionist vehemently shook her head. No, if you have already experienced diving into a dungeon, you know what you need to prepare for it, right? I see. That's what you were talking about. I'm in the middle of a trip, so I have most of my things on me. But I've made up my mind to go with self-imposed restrictions. Otherwise I won't be able to feel any of the thrill of an adventure. Ouch, ouch, my head got grabbed. Why are you idiot? I told you to stop upsetting everyone around you. Didn't I? Who am I upsetting anyway? You yourself said that it'd be bad if I were to show stuff. In your case, talking is just as bad. Stay silent. How terrible. Sword removed his hand from my head, breathed out, and looked at the receptionist. It'll be alright. Despite her appearance, this girl is definitely capable. At least the idea of ill-preparedness doesn't exist with her. She's got enough ability to take and pass the exam, be it in 3 days or right now. Is that so? I shall register her then. Next Sword powerfully glared at the adventurers around us. It's gonna be you people who'll be looked down upon after jugging a book by its cover and doing some stupid stuff. You know, try to spout the same lines in front of me after she's easily passed the exam. It'll be you morons who'll lose face. I shrugged. N0VLUSP.C0M. It's because adventurers are idiots who can't discern strong people. In the next instant my head got grabbed once again. Jaya, ITOLDYOUTOSTAYQUIET. Didn't I? I got it. Ouch, ouch, it hurts. Tears filled my eyes. Come on. Let's go. We've got a request. We have to subjugate a fang boar. Oh, tonight we're going to have boar stew then. Let's eat it with a salty sweet seasoning. I want some veggies to go with it, so make a detour on the way. Sure. He apparently became cheerful right away, and stroked my head. Asterisk. The boar hunt ended with a neck chop. After washing, draining its blood, drying, and stuffing it into my cooling bag, we returned to the guild. After they assessed the materials, we brought back the loin and thighs, and left. When I was about to go back to the forest again, Sword gently grabbed my arm. I rented a house, he whispered. I'd be fine with the forest though. Isn't it fine every now and then? No need to be so overly pessimistic. That's not it. It's just a waste to pay money even though the stay in the forest is roughly the same in comfort. You seem to be a rich guy, but money should be used more constructively. Also, I hate Sword paying for everything. I've got my fair share of problems with having him finance everything just because he's rich. I'd love to reach a point where I'll be able to pay for myself when we're together, but it looks like Sword also has to keep up appearance. Or rather, his dignity. He doesn't appear to be willing to allow a child to pay for herself. Well, then again I'd probably feel the same about it if I were in his shoes. Inside I'm an adult, okay? Sword ruffled my hair while laughing and not commenting on what I told him. Asterisk. Now I've understood why he rented a house. He apparently wanted to get dead drunk. I told you before, if you drink so much, you'll get addicted on the opening bracket alcohol closing bracket component in the liquor. Ain't happening. Fine every once in a while. In the forest you sleep like a log without giving a damn about anything, but I can't settle down like that over there. Even towns are full of dangers, aren't they? I sure would love to meet the burglars who break into a house rented by an S-rank adventurer. How naive, Sword, you're way too naive. That's why you'll someday get beaten by someone going beyond your expectations. Is how I got angry at him, but it's certainly true that Sword seems sleep-deprived, going by his bad complexion, so I give up on scolding him. Very well then, I'll have Yoku stand guard, so get some rest. What are you going to do? Sightseeing, of course. Wait, take Yoku with you. I doubt any idiot would pick a fight with someone who's got a golem with her. I highly doubt that. This place seems to be teeming with morons who can't tell the amazingness of a golem, let alone discern strong people. Alright, now you've got me worried. I'll also. I stopped Swordbite brushing his hair, shaking my head with a gentle smile. Don't worry and get a rest. If I walked through town next to you, who combines alcohol stench with an old man smell, I'd throw up everything I've eaten this morning on the sidewalk. Shut up and get lost, he thundered despite having said that he's worried just moments ago. Chapter 28. I walked through town while teaching Yoku all kinds of things. Since he asked me whether I wanted to get on in the middle of our little outing, I confirmed and climbed on top of him. Of course, this is part of his basic functions. Asterisk. When we were strolling around, kids started to chase after us, saying how cool, wow, it's a monster, and a lot more. This is a golem. His name is Yoku. Yoku, greet the boys and girls. Nice to meet you. I am Yoku. Of course, this is part of his basic functions. Oh, it talked. Whoa. It looks like they got super curious about Yoku. But that's nice since it fits perfectly. Boys, girls, currently Yoku is in the middle of learning. Can I ask you to teach him various things? Learning? A golem is? The children were puzzled. There exists a lot this golem doesn't know. For example, what's that store? That one? It's a weapons dealer, a place selling weapons. After having listened to the child's answer, Yoku started to talk. At one is WE Appons dealer. WE Appons dealer sell WE Appons. Cool. I got off Yoku and let him play with the children. They were just like Sword. The children started to cheerfully talk to him, trying to teach Yoku various things like training a miner. When it's just the two of us, the learning doesn't really make much progress. It's because I unintentionally end up teaching him only about the things piquing my interest. This should also increase his vocabulary. While at it, I'd like him to memorize a childish way of speaking. The default speech pattern is me. He's way too stiff in his patterns except for the cute talk that's part of his basic functions. Asterisk. You. When I looked in the direction of the surprised voice, I spotted a girl with scarlet hair. Having said that, she seems to be older than me. I feel like she's staring my way, but I don't know her. Probably she doesn't mean me. When I removed my attention from her, trying to keep the girls and boys company, she roared, "Wait a moment. What do you plan to do with the children?" It looks like she actually meant me. She's probably mistaking Yoku for a monster. This is a golem. His name is Yoku. Yoku, greet the girl. Nice to meet you. I am Yoku. The greetings and gestures are default functions. Maybe I should add a little more spice to it? No, I'll pin my hopes on the learning function. As if such a golem could exist anywhere. It's a monster. You kids, move back. I furrowed my eyebrows. Mr. Sword, Mr. Sword. Can you hear me? In the end, strong people or golems are fated to get entangled with idiots. People gathered around us while the girl got ready to attack. Seriously, you can truly find nothing but idiots among adventurers. They can't tell apart golems or strong people, really. I brushed up my hair. What was that? She thundered while pointing her wand at me. Hey, bro, are you going to be okay? I'll be fine, but boys, girls, you'll be in danger. Or not. Stay close to Yoku. Yoku, deploy barrier. Aye sir. Yes, it's part of the basic functions. Oops, I forgot to make a retort towards the boy, about me being a woman. Asterisk. Very headstrong, was the impression I got from the girl as she loudly snarled at me. Let me warn you. Hurry up and get lost before you get injured. Back at you. You're still young, and yet you are okay with losing your adventurer license? I've just been walking through town, and the boys and girls have been teaching words to my golem. Then you suddenly showed up, started to shout without listening to anything others tell you, and now you're about to attack me, who's not even resisting. No matter how you look at it, you won't be able to talk your way out of this. If it's now, I'll overlook all of this in light of your adorable face. She should be older than me, but she's a fairly small and cute girl. It'd be a pity for her to have her license revoked. At that moment, she became bright red. Why is she angry? I thought I praised her. I won't be deceived by that SSS sleazy line. Somehow we're talking past each other, I think. Just what is it that frightens you and why are you so upset? I've been just sightseeing, and yet you called out to me and then started to yell. Do you see the problem with that? I gave up. When I sighed, she flew into a rage. You, last time, and today as well. To take me for a fool. Don't look down on others just because you've got an S rank as a teacher. She started to chant. Huh? We've never met before, have we? I arrived at this town just yesterday, and yesterday I only talked to the receptionist lady, you know? Besides, an S rank as teacher? Wait. Do you possibly mean Sword? He's not my teacher. He hasn't taught me anything to begin with. That guy is my partner. Just as I finished rattling down all that, I could hear the last words of her chant. Oh, explosive flames. Reduce her to ash. I didn't understand what she was saying about Sword and so on, but it was easy to follow her chant. Flames were heading for me. A fire emission spell. Huh? In that case I'll get rid of it by removing its oxygen and magic elements. The flames were drawing closer while roaring, but I dealt with them in an instant. Over. There was no need to have Yoku deploy his barrier. Huh? What a waste of fuel. I mumbled. She was surprised by the sudden disappearance of her flames. If it hadn't been me, it could have been dangerous. Maybe. Then again, Yoku would have also been able to handle an attack of this level. After having quieted down, the boys and girls broke out into loud cheering. Bro, you're awesome. That was so cool. How did you do it? They swarmed towards me. You should try to think about why fire is burning. How is it burning? A component helping it to burn is contained in the air and the source of magic. If you remove those two, it'll vanish in an instant. Woo. My mood has improved a lot after getting praised. Boys, girls, I'm no bro. Call me lady. No, you're a bro, aren't you? Listen to me. I'm a woman, damn it. I understand. Then call me Indra. Bro Indra. Do me the favor of using sis at least. Bro. It looks like they want to insist on me being a guy. Hun. In that case they must be hiding their embarrassment, right? I mean, I can totally understand, seeing how I'm such a beautiful girl. And 0vlisp.c0m, asterisk. Now then, leaving the kids aside. This is definitely going to turn into an uproar. It'd be great if they could send someone over from the guild to fix it, but if not, I won't have any other choice but to have Yoku turn on his optical camouflage, and call Sword. The authorities showed up. What are you doing? No, I'm not really doing anything, though. The bastard over there, I'll beat him black and blue. I won't get a closure on things unless I wallop him a good one. The girl roared with an angry glare. Kathy, what are you doing here? Another girl with an appearance that screams adventurer has shown up, apparently my opponent's acquaintance. Look, it's that man. That's not about me, is it? I mean, I'm a woman. Him, who casted magic in town. Everyone quickly and decisively pointed at the scarlet-haired girl. Wait, someone tell me, what the hell is that thing? A monster? No matter how you look at it, it's a golem. Don't you think? Yeah. As if. I got myself a retort from everyone. Clearing my throat while maintaining my dignity, I said, it's a golem I built. You? It's self-taught, but I understand the principles behind magic arts and magic tool creation. Accordingly, I've tried to fulfill my aspiration of building a golem in my own way. However, the golem I built won't move by just giving it a single order like the ones created by other mages and sorcerers. I have to teach it. Thus I was walking through town with the goal of teaching it, and since the boys and girls over there got interested in the golem, I had them help me out. At that moment, the girl over there fired a spell at me for the sake of walloping me a good one. That's all. I was able to explain things in a well-reasoned way. Or rather, it was nothing more than a recount of the facts. Kathy, just what are you doing while we're waiting for the exam? But, that guy. That means they're going to challenge the C rank exam, huh? I told you, didn't I, that I'd overlook all of this if it was now. And yet you started to chant your spell. The girl, who seemed to be the partner of that Kathy or whatever girl, looked my way, flabbergasted. Are you possibly looking for a fight? Why would you take things in that direction? This is the point where you dent things with I got it, goodbye, isn't it? Indra. I looked over my shoulder in response to the voice. Great to see you here, Sword. In the end I got into a fight with a stupid adventurer who can't discern strength and golems. This comment earned me, you moron. I told you to stay quiet, didn't I? Being hurled at me. Come to think of it, you mentioned something along those lines, didn't you? It completely escaped my memory. You are sheesh. Sword's retorts are really getting out of hand as of late. And then Sword held up his card to the official like some seal case. The official quickly fixed his posture by standing upright, showing his respect. The foul-mouthed one overhears my partner. Even if she might have said something rude, please forgive her for my sake. No, it is not like that. I received a report that a fairly powerful spell had been unleashed in town, so I rushed over to confirm the situation. Ah. Sword scratched his head. I think you understand without me telling you, but it wasn't me. No need to spell it out since it's obvious. I'm pretty sure you simply pissed off the other party by making full use of your skill to agitate others. But I've been just playing with Yoko while keeping the boys and girls company, you know, right, children? They nodded. Wait, you're capable of getting along with kids? Of course I am. I am their hero. Once I got a bit too cocky, I was told with a cold voice. Yeah, whenever you're dealing with Yoko, your childish side suddenly pops out, I suppose. The hell is that? I wonder, maybe children are simply immune to your agitation skill, he added. The surrounding people also attested that I didn't use any magic and that the children had apparently played with the Gillen, although they weren't sure whether they should call Yoko like that, and thus I was free to go. The scarlet-haired girl was taken away to get interrogated since the same obviously didn't apply to her. Is she your acquaintance, Sword? She apparently knew you. No clue. Or rather, plenty of folk claim to be acquainted with me on their own account. I'd think she belongs in that category. How irresponsible. For heaven's sake, I really ain't no friend of coercing others by flaunting my rank. Sorry about that. But it's great that it worked on the official. If it had been me, it'd have ended with me asking okay, so what about it? Sword firmly grabbed my head. Yeah, right. According to you, I'm just a smelly old man. It's alright. You won't stink if you wash yourself properly. Also, hold back on your liquor. DONTWANNA. Then I'd rather be a smelly old man. You like alcohol so much? Is that really alright with you? Chapter 29. On the day of the exam I went to the designated meeting place. For some reason, Sword accompanied me as well. He argued that he has to supervise me since I'll start some kind of trouble otherwise. As we waited, 4 other parties showed up, and immediately got startled. How did you come all the way here? I walked, obviously. No, I suppose it'd be more accurate to say I ran. When I answered while looking at Sword, he was yawning, completely disregarding the other adventurers. N0VLS.C0M. Hey. Are you okay? Recently you've been drinking every day, haven't you? You should also drink some water for a change. It'll be fine since I've taken the antidote. Alcohol counts as poison for you then? Looking my way, Sword grinned broadly, as expected. Even you can't compound medicine, huh? My parent. The other one. Has been a doctor, so it's not like I can't as I've learned it from watching. Sword's mouth gaped in surprise. But unfortunately the medicinal plants around here are way too different. I've found several I know. Still, it's something I can't handle as long as I don't hear about which effects what plants have by becoming the apprentice of a doctor. Or rather, in this world you can heal everything by just taking a healing potion, and you can detoxify yourself by taking an antidote, can't you? Based on my knowledge, medicine doesn't actually work that way. In the first place, medicine has the task of boosting one's own healing powers. Yeah, least you've realized that you've got some limits in what you can do. He roughly stroked my head round. Asterisk. Feeling gazes on me, I spotted 2 parties glaring at me. One was the party of the scarlet-haired girl who picked a fight with me a few days ago. It looks like her adventurer license hasn't been revoked. I wonder, what's the difference between her and the guy who had his license revoked after picking a fight with me? The other party consisted of men. I'd say they are kinda similar to Sword. They started to bicker all of a sudden. Shit. So it's gonna be a rigged exam, eh? That little bitch sure takes it easy, seeing how she's set to pass anyway thanks to her connections. Does it look like that to you? When I looked up to Sword, I was surprised to see him pull a cold face I've never seen on him before. Rigged exam, eh? I suppose it makes sense for folk who don't get why you're my partner. Well, you just need to show that you're good enough to get through the dungeon without having to rely on my connections anyway, right? Though I hope that their spirit doesn't break from the difference in ability afterwards. In other words, You're telling me that it'd be better for me to not go with my self-imposed restrictions? Clear the dungeon the fastest with Ryoku. I got it. So basically a clearing with a restriction of not stopping at all. Kind of like a side-scroller game, I guess. Suddenly the scarlet-haired girl planted herself in front of me. It's nice to see that they didn't take your license away. Obviously they wouldn't. I only came to the rescue. Our conversation isn't meshing again? Placing a finger on my temple, I brooded deeply. So you interpreted the "I'll wallop you a good one" as came to the rescue? I was forced to master how to put adults to shame as a child at a very young age. But is there a different way to interpret that when you're a commoner? I asked Sword. Nah, ain't no way that I'm gonna finish you off passes as come into the rescue or anything like that. Figures. Shut up. Listen. Okay, we definitely won't lose to someone like you. Mark my words. I'll laugh at you after beating you. Watching this scene, Sword casually commented, "That's impossible for you!" The girl became bright red. Now, it might be impossible, but aren't you slightly mean to her when you're so blunt about it? It's the statement of a determined girl at an age where she'd want to push herself to the limits. Just be tolerant and listen to her in silence. As I consoled and soothed Sword, the girl scowled at me with tears in her eyes. Why? Once again your natural agitation skills rearing its head. Oh well, whatever. Still, I gotta say, sometimes you're more of an old man than me, you know? I'd like you to at least change that part into an old woman. Why make a guy out of me? Sword shrugged his shoulders. Next, the other girls from her party arrived. Do you remember having heard the party name Crimson Lilies are a girl's oath? A girl that screamed swordswoman asked while glaring at us. Parties have names? I hear about this for the first time. Feeling astounded, I looked up to Sword, asking for an explanation. Hey, we've made a party, haven't we? You didn't stick such a pathetic name to our party, did you? What was that? Sword caressed me with a sigh. Don't worry, I haven't named our party. Rather, I don't quite get why you girls would cry here. Is there any reason to become so teary-eyed? Uncool, scary. When they started to tremble. I'm sorry for being uncool, Kay. The other party got angry. But yep, I know this is also partly my fault. Everyone has different tastes. It just didn't agree with my tastes. Don't mind it. We do mind it. They thundered at me. Can you finally give it a rest with the condescending attitude? Don't get so cocky just because you've got an S rank as a teacher. I was told once more. Sword isn't my teacher, okay? This guy hasn't taught me a single thing. My temples were ground. Should I have the nickname of natural-born agitator added to you? No, that's so uncool. We've been active at the town of Wise. The girl, who seemed to be the calmest among the three, started to explain. We've worked our way up to E rank by steadily completing requests. But, at some point we talked about bolstering our numbers with a vanguard since things would become difficult for just the three of us going forward. As if fitting perfectly, we were told by the guild about a kid they'd like us to take care of. They told us that she was a beginner at adventuring, and yet should possess the necessary abilities since an S rank had been taking care of her. Thus they wanted us to teach her the ropes. Hearing that the girl would be able to attack enemies or assist our party members since she could use sword and magic, it was just the position we'd been looking for to fill for our party. We felt a bit uneasy since she was a beginner, but decided to give it a try anyway. When I saw her show up, I got anxious. But since my two partners were brimming with motivation to train her, I suppressed my worries, and tried to call out to her. Just to get ignored. From back then, huh? When I looked up to Sword he'd started to fidget around while looking quite awkward. I see. Sorry about that. Back then Sword had dragged me to that place after I had never left my mansion. My house and the woods around it. After he had suddenly announced that we'd split up since he was a big shot, I was quite sulky. It was a time when I pondered whether I should turn the whole region into a death zone with a big, taboo spell. You weren't the only ones I ignored at that time, so please forgive me. Sword also apologized while scratching his head. You're definitely right. I did something bad to you girls. You see, I'd planned various things, but it all went up in smoke because of my mistake. I thought that it'd be great for girls her age to teach her about adventuring since she was a perfectly lil sheltered lady, but yep, it's completely my fault. Please forgive me. And, I'm sorry, but I don't plan to party with anyone other than her anymore. The composed girl shook her head. That's not an issue anymore. Actually, we'd be actually troubled if you asked us to let you join now. But, after that he suddenly rose up to D rank, so we couldn't really come to terms with that. I'm not a he, but a she. Why is everyone so eager to make a man out of me? Just now Sword described me as a sheltered lil lady, and yet she ignored it altogether. Besides, boys with such slender contours don't exist, okay? The men in this world are kinda like buffed foreigners, aren't they? Sword is on the more slender side, but even he is quite the macho. I don't think that it's anywhere close to my slenderness. Or rather, I consider myself to be a beautiful girl, you know. Sword also treats me somewhat like a brat. But I'm a beautiful girl, am I not? Asterisk. As I got upset in my mind, the other two girls joined the conversation as well. Yes, she's absolutely right. Suddenly becoming a D rank without doing anything just because you've got an S rank as a teacher? What do you think how much time and effort it took us to climb all the way to E rank in the first place? Isn't it an unprecedented, special treatment to ask E ranks to look after a G rank? On top of that, you ignored us when we called out to you from our side. And then you became a D rank without any achievements. You believe such selfishness will be forgiven just like that? Even if you tell me all that. I apologized moments ago for having ignored you. Since most of it is Sword's fault, bring up your complaints with him. Also, the guild master raised my rank to D on his own accord. If you have a problem with it, sort it out with the guild master. If you want, I'll bring him in front of you next time. After shortly being at a loss for words, she gritted her teeth in anger. I hate that part about you. Throwing your weight around while just borrowing the power of a great man totally sucks. Who is the great man you're talking about? Me, it's me. That's why I've told you that I'm not a self-alleged big shot. Did you finally get it, idiot? I see, Sword was great, huh? I don't know in what area, but it'd sure help if it's in regards to political power. Let's leave it at that. Hey, don't ignore things as you please, he told me in a huff. I feigned ignorance, throwing my weight around while just borrowing Sword's power, you say? I don't recall having said something cute like, I'll tattle to Sword on you if you don't do as I say, though. Oh well, I suppose that's the same misinterpretation as turning the threat to beat someone up into having tried to come to a rescue. I suppose it makes sense in that regard. Sword, the friends you tried to allocate to me are girls like these? Would you be able to become friends with them, Lona Coot? I know, I'm sorry, okay? Also, don't add Coot to Lona. I ignored him. Looking at the girl trembling in rage, I sighed. Don't be so edgy. The exam is going to start anytime soon, and it's a waste of your cute face. I tried to pacify her by saying that, but it's a really tough call whether that line was agitation or a sleazy, old man comment. Sword butted in. Translation notes, Lily equals Yuri, but probably not intended here in that meaning. Still, it's kind of a wordplay by the author I guess. Chapter 30. Either way, it's time for the exam. Well then, let me explain the details of the exam that's going to take place from now on. One of the examiners began to explain. Asterisk. In short, head to the dungeon, go to the boss room, defeat the boss, pick up the token placed further inside the dungeon beyond the boss room, and come back further inside, beyond the boss room, at the place where you can find the dungeon core. Then I must be extra careful to not break it by accident. I suppose that's all I need to pay attention to. Yoku, follow me while evading everything. Got it? Aye sir. Yep, he's so cute. I gently stroked him. TSK. She was even given such a monster like Golem. Sure makes me jealous how everything goes for S rank's pet. Or something like that reached my ears. But why would they describe a darling like Ryoku as a monster? Okay, start the exam. Upon that announcement, I ain't gonna lose to some cheatin' bitch. Let's go. We definitely won't lose to someone like her. I felt like I heard such voices, but they sounded faint and distant. Chihaha, what a moron. How far ya think y'all get while rushing ahead like that? No clue how to tackle dungeons as you got through everything by connections, eh? I had a hunch that I heard some buzzing in the far distance, but I actually think that I'm probably going to finish this exam before the day is over at this rate. Asterisk. At the dungeon's entrance area a man, who seemed to be an examiner, yelped after getting startled, and inside the dungeon people cried out after getting surprised as well. but I ignored all of it. I'm in the middle of my challenge with the restriction of not being allowed to stop. After running through the fairly spacious dungeon, I arrived at the boss room. I opened the door, and killed the boss in the next instant. Leaving the boss room, I headed deeper inside. Ah, I found a person. What is it? I'm an examinee, so please give me the token. Examinee, you say? When did it start? Quite a while ago, I think. I've challenged myself to clear it without stopping. But now I've ended up coming to a halt. I had to stop since I'm talking to him. Oh well, no helping it. I simply hadn't expected that I'd receive the token from someone else. Are you possibly the pupil of the S-rank adventurer, Mr. Sword? I'm not his pupil, but his partner. I haven't learned anything from that guy. Everything is self-taught. Leaving that aside, I've been told to return as the fastest, so I'd like to head back any time now. Please give me the token. Oh, sorry. No doubt, you're the fastest. You've arrived here first. He passed me a token. I see. Thanks. Be careful on your way back. Okay. Please give my regards to Mr. Dungeon Core. I bid my farewell to the laughing, examiner-like man with a wave of my hand, and started to dash again. On my way back I ran into one of the parties who didn't get involved with me, but I passed them by leaping above. Just now, was that possibly? Do your best, you're on the right track, I told them in passing. When I exited the dungeon, Don't tell me, you already cleared it? In response I waved the token at them. Goal. Sword looked at me without a care, whereas the examiner stared at me blankly. Which reminds me, I didn't hear what to do after bringing back the token, did I? The examiner opened his mouth, but no sound came out of it. Sword spoke up in his stead. A bit late, aren't you? I stopped on the way to talk with the examiner person to give me the token. Sorry. I apologized. So I've been slow after all. Just kidding. Or rather, a time like that despite chatting with someone in the middle of it, Didn't you run throughout almost the whole course then? That's the kind of challenge it was. It was a bit of fun, you know. I liked it since it felt like an adventure. I see, that's great to hear. Yep, how irresponsible of him. When the examiner came back to his senses at long last, he held out his hand. I'll hold on to the token. I passed it to him. And now? Isn't there some more? I profusely tilted my head to the side in confusion. Please wait for the results of the exam. When are you going to announce them? The examiner has frozen up, but I wonder why. Once everyone finishes, all examiners will assemble, and then we'll go back to the guild. Afterwards I think you'll be told the result after around an hour. I see. So it's a system where they choose from among everyone, instead of marking everyone individually. After stretching himself, Sword carried our luggage over. No choice. Guess we gotta wait. The campaign will last for a while. That's what I actually prefer, but is it going to take that long? Don't judge folks by your and my standards. Normally it takes around 2 to 3 days, really. Moreover, you don't often encounter crazy folk who'd break through enemies and traps at your speed. Around now everyone should have entered the dungeon, I think. Let's wait for at the entrance area. We moved over, joining up with the examiner at the dungeon's entrance. Oh, you're the one from earlier. He pointed at me. So I didn't mistake you for someone else after all. You seemed like you were being chased by a monster, and yet you didn't ask for help. I didn't hear that a tamer would take part in this exam, but you're a tamer, aren't you? Yoku is a golem. Yoku, greet the examiner. Nice to meet you. I am Yoku. Is that also part of its basic functions? Of course. He's so adorable. A talking golem. The voice actually belongs to her, though. Sword pointed at me. I've recorded my own voice to use it for broadcasting. Now is the perfect time. I'd love you guys to teach Yoku a bit. Examiner, please explain the C-rank exam to Yoku. C-rank exam is D-rank adventurers who are retaking it dive into dungeon and fetch token. Oh. He listened. There, well done, Yoku. So you heard the earlier explanation, Me well done? Yes, you did well. I got praised. Sword watched Yoku jumping in joy and me caressing him with an ultra-scary look. Nothing to admire there. This is part of his education. She made the golem so he'd act like that from the very start. When he explained this to the examiners, they praised. Isn't that in itself really amazing then? Seemingly having their interest piqued, They closely examined Yoku all over. Where did you get your hands on this? Probably in a dungeon, right? I made him. Huh? I made him. Silence spread. You see, there was this multi-legged battle golem which appeared in a story I loved dearly. I wanted to make one for myself, at any cost. I've promised myself that I'd have him sing a song with me someday when a soul dwells within. I repeatedly nuzzled and stroked Yoku, causing the examiners to draw back from me. Sorry. You gotta know, this girl got a screw loose. All the folk making magic tools are like that. How rude. *N0vlisp.c0m. 5 days later, the examiners put forth a request to rescue the parties which hadn't returned yet. Alright, I guess we'll head out then. MMH. Sending out an examinee on a rescue request is kind of like putting the cart before the horse. But she's passed anyway. If you say she's failed, you might as well reconsider my rank, Sword said over his shoulder before rushing into the dungeon together with me. Thinking about it now, that was pretty much a flag, wasn't it? 2 parties haven't come back so far. It's the parties who picked a fight with me. The 2 parties, who had absolutely nothing to do with me, and especially the party I passed on my run, managed to come back within 2 days. Because they messed with you? Rather, thinking that any kind of favoritism or rigging would work on adventurers is already weird as fuck. In the first place, what's the point in worrying about others? Us adventurers complete requests while using our own abilities as capital. No, it's bullshit to believe that they wouldn't be able to reach C rank just because you've been favored. Adventurer ain't such a half-assed occupation that you can survive on such a naive way of thinking, huh? It's such a hard mode. Well, he's right in this being physical work. I highly doubt that raising your levels by leeching like in some hunting games will be of any use for something as trivial as clearing a village quest if you don't have the ability to go with it. We arrived at the halfway point. Now then, I think it'd be more efficient for us to split up, but I sure can't help feeling worried when being apart from you. Sword looked super hesitant. Don't worry. It'll be no problem. Obviously it'll be only problems. If your agitation skill explodes, it's highly likely for it to develop into a battle with your rescue targets. I'll make them faint in such a case. Take Yoku with you, I'll go by myself. Hey, you got it backwards, don't you? Yoku and I can talk even when apart. I'll inform you about the situation through Yoku. Also, Yoku and I can grasp each other's location. It's more efficient for you to take him with you. Gotcha. Keep me updated, minutely. Sword gave in with a bitter expression. What are you talking about? This dungeon isn't that difficult, is it? Rather, it's extremely boring if you clear it while looking on a map. You know, a game you know how to clear lacks any kind of appeal. Bang! A fist exploded on my head. It's no game, but a rescue operation. I know that. I'm just telling you to not worry. Everything is visible to me. Sword sighed. Make sure to not have the rug pulled under you because of that conceit, Kay? You're too much of a worrywart. I'm just enjoying my life. I caressed Sword's cheek. I worry about you too. The things I can do are limited, and so are the things you can do. And it's my freedom what to think and how to act. That's what I meant with I know that. How about you? Suddenly I got hugged. Watch out to not get injured out of carelessness. Kay, you too. You're more important than the rescue targets. Now you suddenly come around the corner with such corny lines. Are you hitting on me, a grown-up? Why would you interpret it like that? How did the tropics switch from me being worried about him to me hitting on him? With a sigh, I separated from him. Kids don't need to worry about adults. My body is that of a child, but my insides are those of an adult. Come to think of it, you mentioned being a middle-aged man, didn't you? Why does he take me for a guy? Sword headed down one of the paths while laughing. Now then, I let out a deep sigh. They're pretty deep in, aren't they? 3 of them, huh? Unless they're dead, it's the 3 girls' party. I suppose I picked the winner here. I'll leave the foul-mouthed middle-aged idiots to the guy around their age. Chapter 31. Kathy, the S-rank adventurer Thunderclap Whitefang was someone I admired. Because I was a little magician, I publicly pretended to support Bloody Witch. But in my heart I adored that man who's outstanding in swordsmanship and magic. Hence I got super happy and excited when the guild approached us about looking after the pupil of Thunderclap Whitefang. I was jealous of that child, but I've heard he's got some special circumstances, and well, if they're asking us to do it, we might as well do it, right? Then again Liz seemed quite eager about this whole thing, too. In the first place, Liz belongs to the Peerless Strength faction, doesn't she? Or, wait, does she actually admire Thunderclap Whitefang? Well, such things happen sometimes, I guess. But, if he can use magic, I'll teach him. Asterisk. While sparks flew between Liz and me, the appointed day arrived. Waiting in the back for our turn, we secretly watched from the shadows. Oh my, isn't that a pretty boy right there? Sure, he's still a child, and small, but he looks promising. He's inferior to Thunderclap Whitefang, but okay, why not? I like him, so I'll take care of him. That's what I thought, but the receptionist glanced our way with a troubled look. It seemed like the conversation didn't go as well as planned. The pretty boy quickly left the counter, about to leave the guild. We chased after him in a hurry, and spoke up to him from the side. Hey, boy, interested in forming a party with us? Sasha called out to him as the one who's the most sociable and approachable among us, but without even trying to stop or look our way. The boy left the guild. What's his damn problem? Sasha looked completely flabbergasted, too. The receptionist apologized to Thunderclap Whitefang who had shown up. Apparently it had failed. But what exactly? According to the story I heard later on, they had come up with some kind of plan, but not only didn't it work out as intended, but that guy stopped listening to anyone after getting upset. The receptionist apologized to us, but isn't that boy's willfulness at fault here? I mean, I can understand that you'd have a hard time to bid your farewell as pupil of Thunderclap Whitefang, but consider all the trouble you're causing to your teacher. Sheesh. Asterisk. For several days afterwards, he completely blocked out anyone and everyone trying to talk to him, but according to rumors, Thunderclap Whitefang gave in and they formed a party in the end. What the hell? There are limits to screwing around with others, okay? And that wasn't even the end of the bullshit. They say he skipped all the way to D rank after doing some collection requests and hunting for a bit. I thought that my veins might have popped when I heard that. As soon as he acted like a selfish prig, he became the partner of Thunderclap Whitefang. And then he even became a D rank without putting any work into it just because of Thunderclap Whitefang. How can such nonsense even be allowed? When Liz heard about it, she got so pissed that she butchered a monster to such an extent that the guild didn't want to buy it from us anymore. Sasha gave up, saying that this was how the world works, but she had changed her opinion, now saying that we should do our best with just the three of us instead of getting a new member. I fully agreed with that. I'll show that asshole how we're going to reach C rank before him. Luckily connections and influence are worth nothing when it comes to C rank. You've got to pass a test to get it. Once I'm a C rank, I'll find that guy and laugh at him, saying, "You're still a D rank? Too bad that D rank is the highest you can get through connections. Looks like you can't pass the exam because of the influence of Thunderclap Whitefang either, eh? Asterisk. I ran into him before that though. As he played dumb when I called out to him, I snapped, and unleashed my magic at him. When I did, even I realized that I might have gone too far, and became pale as not only him but even the children might die from my spell. Just when I was about to cry as it fully hit me that not only wouldn't I be rising to C rank, but I'd actually become a criminal with this, it vanished. My spell was suddenly gone. Seeing that guy standing there so nonchalantly that it actually pissed me off, I understood that he'd erased it. The children all looked pale as well, but then they started to praise him all at once. Of course, the authorities showed up. I was sure that my license would be taken away with me heading straight for jail, but that boy gave some explanation and scurried off right afterwards. So when I fervently argued that the golem looked like a monster and that I tried to defeat it in a hurry out of fear for the children's safety, the officials bought that excuse. Since no one got injured and probably because it wasn't an overly powerful spell either, it all came to a close with me spending one day in prison. It looks like the officials thought I got startled by the golem and tried to chase it away. That in itself was quite mortifying, but Liz, who had accompanied me to the guard station, kicked my shin under the table when I was about to act up, resulting in me leaving it at an anxious-looking nod. Asterisk. On the next day, after I had pulled myself together, Liz and Sasha gave me a sermon, saying, "Make sure to control your temper. Okay, you'd end up biting the dust anyway before you could even beat up that boy." Then we got on a carriage, and headed over to the exam site, and over there I saw Thunderclap Whitefang. Yay! So he's come as well. Asterisk. Together with that boy. Somehow it actually feels like even the C rank exam is going to be rigged, doesn't it? I wasn't the only one thinking so. Another party flew into a rage after seeing Thunderclap Whitefang. By the way, one of them blathered, "Female brats Taki in the C rank exam? Ain't no way they gonna pass. Best would be for them to run back home to weed the fields," which resulted in me almost firing a spell at him, but with Sasha and Liz holding me back, we managed to avoid any further incidents. If I were to use what that boy had used against me, I'd run out of mana, unable to cast any other spells for a while, I think. Since mana potions are anything but cheap, I don't really want to rely on them much. I'm far from liking these guys, but I'll at least praise them for what they said to that boy. However, when they did, Thunderclap Whitefang answered them with a super scary face instead. That face of his was the same expression as it was drawn on his portrait. Since he looks quite friendly when he's with that boy, I wonder whether that's actually his real expression, but somehow, it pains me a bit to see him like that. The rumors I've heard about Thunderclap Whitefang said that he's a cold-hearted man, so it made my heart throb when I learned of his kind side by taking a pupil with some special circumstances, but somehow it's like he's only showing his gentle and caring side to that boy. It does make me a tad jealous. Wait. Now's not the time for that. I'll also declare my war on that boy. As soon as I did, Thunderclap Whitefang said that it'd be impossible for me, and that guy treated me like a complete retard. As expected, even Liz and Sasha looked super pissed, so we secretly agreed that the three of us would show him who's boss. Asterisk. And then the exam started. N0 via lusp.C0M. That boy rushed off at an unbelievable speed. What's the idea here? Even those creepy guys, who had been scheming to get in the boy's way, howled like sour losers as it looked like all their little plans went bust. But, true, it's not like any of us knows how long he'll be able to keep up going at that pace. If he runs out of steam inside the dungeon, it'll spell his death. Moreover, when being solo, even if he might have a golem with him, that thing should use quite a bit of mana, so it should be accompanied with quite a bit of danger to go at such a pace. I'm sure he ran away because of all the bullying, and is now hiding somewhere. I'll totally poke fun at him if I spot him. Asterisk. We finally arrived at the dungeon entrance. We kept looking for that boy all the time, but he was nowhere to be found. He must be quite skilled at hiding. He got my praise for that. An examiner stood in front of the dungeon entrance. Did I see wrongly after all? Somehow it looked like a child entered the dungeon while being chased by some kind of monster. Hearing him mumbling that, I pinned my eyes on the examiner in surprise. He entered already? When? How long ago? So my eyes didn't play a trick on me then? It's been quite a while ago. More than 40 minutes by now. Those scummy guys, who'd arrived here at the same time as us, were shocked as well. Got to be having fun by using that golem, right? I'm so damn envious of a piece of shit who gets pushed everything into her ass by an S rank. How can it make things easier by using a golem? Don't look down on magic arts, okay? Even just having it walk around all over the place while following you eats lots of mana. But, if it's a golem Thunderclap Whitefang obtained, it might have some function to not use mana. As I thought, he's a cheat. Asterisk. We blundered on our pacing. Since we wanted to get away from the guys who had been bitching all the time, we somehow managed to lose them halfway. Wanting to finish the exam faster than those idiots and that boy, I pushed my party members and advanced while limiting the breaks to the minimum. I feel like we've passed this way some time ago. No way. You properly drew a map, didn't you? Wah, of course I did. But, I was a bit in a hurry, so I might have made a mistake. Not drawing a map in a dungeon is fatal. If you fail at it, you should head back the way you came. But, since I was impatient, I plunged onwards. And got completely lost. No examiner is to be found anywhere, and we don't know any safe areas either. As we continued on, still not taking a rest, my feeling of time slowly started to fade. And just when my exhaustion reached its peak, those monsters showed up. We should have retreated here, but, in the end we underestimated the enemy. I mean, it was just 2 goblins. Wait, it's dangerous to take them on in our current state. I'll cast a barrier, so let's use that moment to fall back. Ignoring Sasha's warning, I rushed ahead. We can easily get rid of 2 lousy goblins, right? We're a party that's going to become C rank. True. Defeating them will allow us to get rid of some stress even if we'll retreat in the end, won't it? And to be honest, I don't know whether I'll have enough stamina to get away if they chase after us. When I cast a fireball as a restraint and Liz tried to cut into them. My fireball clashed against another spell and vanished. On top of that, the other spell continued heading my way. Oh wall. Block everything. Sasha's barrier spell was in time, resulting in the spell getting repelled. But, at the same time Sasha ran out of mana. She crumbled down on her knees. I had used too much offensive magic, so I ended up drinking Sasha's share of mana potions. It was all because I wasted my spells out of impatience. Liz had her thigh stabbed by the other goblin. I looked at the goblin in surprise. This is no ordinary goblin. It's an evolved one. Liz, I threw the bomb magic tool. This was a very expensive item, but I bought it just in case. Using the opportunity, Liz somehow managed to fall back to us and drink a healing potion. It apparently stopped her bleeding, but the wound itself didn't heal. We prepared all kinds of things in order to pass the C rank exam in one go. All the money we'd earned so far went into it. We went this far, and yet it was all in vain. That and everything else was my fault. I got impatient and didn't even consider our pace. Even though I messed up with the map, I continued onwards without admitting so. I attacked pointlessly, resulting in me using up even the mana potions of someone else. Yep. It was really hard, but we somehow managed to reach D rank. But I never felt my life was in danger. I didn't understand the meaning behind having the skill allowing you to reach D rank through connections, why you had to take a proper exam for C rank, and why it was said that you could only call yourself an adventurer after becoming a C rank. Now that I'm about to die, I've finally realized it. The reason behind the pledges I agreed to before taking the exam: no matter what happens, the guild won't be held accountable for anything, even if the examinee dies during the exam. And please write a will in advance. In case you die or go missing, we will hand your belongings to the people mentioned in your will after the exam has ended. Very likely, those are a goblin warrior and a goblin mage. After those two squealed as if laughing at us, the goblin mage cast a fire spell, the large-scale blaze spell I specialize in. Yeah, I did something bad to that boy, and yet he was able to calmly deal with such a spell being used on him. It's inevitable for me to be totally scared of that approaching fire. No, I don't want to die. No, 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 please no. I wonder whether it's more stylish to hold up a hand? I mean, it surely gives the feeling of using magic. When I lifted my head, that boy was standing in front of me, with the flames having disappeared. When I looked at him in sheer amazement, he stared back at me, and smiled. Yo, sorry for making you wait. Chapter 32. Hi, Indra here, your local heroine who showed up as promised. Yep, you could put it like that, right? Anyway, it seems like things have gotten slightly hairy. I wondered what I should do since I hadn't been taught whether it was alright for me to poke my nose into the battles of other adventurers. But if they die because I didn't help them, I'd feel like it was my fault, and if that argument doesn't fly, I'll just allow myself to get scolded. Yep. In the first place, the monsters don't really seem to be all that tough. Is something wrong with them? Are they maybe tired or something? Well, it's obvious that they're exhausted, I suppose. Maybe they enjoyed the thrill of going without a map a bit too much and got lost. These guys are evolved goblins, a goblin warrior and a goblin mage. Normal methods won't work against them. Thanks for the explanation. In short, they're strong. They are shivering in fright as they're looking at me, though. They don't appear to be all that strong, though. Is this the time to look down on the enemy? If you do something like that, you'll die right away. But they seem to be scared of me. You know, monsters can discern strength, so they have to be weak enemies since they've become afraid after seeing me. The girl looks at the monsters, apparently stunned. It'd go against my style to kill those who don't attack me out of fear. Then again, I don't really have a style. If you leave now, I'll let you go. So, get lost. When I said so to the goblins, they scurried away in a hurry. Yep, as I thought. They were weak. Wait a second. Why are you letting them get away? My current request is to rescue stranded examinees, not the killing of monsters. Besides, if I killed scared, non-resistant monsters, it'd leave a bad aftertaste. Getting joy out of tormenting frightened monsters is a fairly trashy fetish to have. Since my remark caused everyone to look dumbfounded, It looks like I've messed up again. I'll ignore it. I took out a handheld magic tool for communication. Sword, Indra speaking. I've succeeded in rescuing one party of the rescue targets. With a crackling, I can hear various lines such as "Hey Ryoku, how can I talk to her?" Rather, you're going to talk, and give it to rest and pass it to me. I want to talk to her. Can you hear me, Indra? Loud and clear. Then I heard, "Oh, so you can hear me, eh? You want to talk with her, and no. It's fine, I'll talk with her." You, who are currently chatting very normally with Ryoku, always look at me coldly whenever I talk with Ryoku. We're done on our side. I think it's fine to call it like that. We had some troubles over here, but I'm gonna trust them into Ryoku's pod and head back. Wait a second. Could you spare me from throwing filthy, old men into my cute Ryoku? Those geese stank quite a bit. Okay, I'm 100% sure that they don't wash themselves. Don't worry, I'll wrap them up in blankets. Anyway, I'm going back, so hurry back yourself as well! He yelled at me. I disconnected the communication device with a shrug, and faced the girls. They were still frozen in sheer amazement. Let's see. I guess I'll first take care of your injuries. Since one of them had been stabbed, I treated her. What's this? That's what draws her attention? Around here you can heal everything with a medicine called healing potion or something like that, right? I don't really like that. Medical treatment should be carried out slowly through your own bodily healing functions. Then again, it'd be bad to leave the wound alone. Once you carefully wash out the wound opening and block it with fat, it'll heal up nicely through your own regenerative powers. This here is a special ointment I made myself, which combines detoxifying, antibacterial, and anti-inflammatory effects. On top of that, it does skincare and repairs the flesh tissues. If you apply this, cover it with a jelly pad, and rest for a bit, your wound will heal up completely in a week. Probably because I haven't tested it myself yet since I didn't get injured so far. But, the ointment is a special creation that uses the ingredients I found after capitalizing on the knowledge of my otherworld self. Hence it ought to work, I think. I smeared it on her wound, and applied a handmade jelly pad. Okay, all that's left is to carry you girls. I took out a special wooden rack with shoulder straps. With its bent shape, 3 girls can easily fit on it. Wait a minute. Are you possibly planning to put us on that thing and then walk while carrying us? The strong-willed girl pointed at the rack, trembling all over. No need to guess the obvious, is there? Don't worry. A girl's weight is famous for being lighter than that of a feather. Who would believe such nonsense? It's clearly true. My weight is lighter than that of a feather, after all. I had the unwilling girls sit down on the rack, and then fastened them to the rack and tied them together. Alrighty, make sure to not bite your tongues since it might be a somewhat bumpy ride. I've warned you, okay? Wait a second. This is a crazy idea. Stop, please stop. Seriously. Hey, I'm wounded. Or did you forget? What are you going to do if things end up in a disaster by you trying to do the impossible? They keep quacking, but luckily I don't hear anything thanks to my soundproofing spell. Okay, now hold out for a bit. Also, grit your teeth, relying on your willpower as girls, to avoid puking. Got it? After lifting up the rack on my back, I dashed off at full speed. We arrived after around 5 minutes. Oh. You are. Sorry, one of them was wounded, so I had to treat her. Sword was already waiting for me. After opening the pod, he retrieved some old dudes from within. Sure made something weird again, haven't you? Or rather, don't you have any pity with them? He commented while looking at the girls who were ghastly pale while still fastened to the rack. No, I actually think you should use this as well. This one here is a lot more stable. No thanks. It'd be a huge pain if they started to piss themselves. And 0vlist.c0m. Oh, I hadn't considered that possibility. Peeing, huh? Did you know? The water coming out of a girl is called holy water. I hear some men will pay big amounts of money for it. I informed him with a broad grin of what I had suddenly recalled. Hey, old man. Gimme a break with weird-ass noble knowledge. You're wrong. It's knowledge from the other world. That's even worse. When I quickly glanced at the old men Sword had pulled out of the pod, several of them were dead. You weren't in time, huh? 2 have survived. The 2 men rolled out of the pod, their clothes in tatters. The instant they came out, one started to yell at Sword. It's all your fault. If you had come to save us earlier, Mooney, Sig, and Nick wouldn't have died. What is he ranting about? I kicked him for good measure. You. Sword scratched his head. Come on, don't kick him. It'd waste my sav in them if you kill him here. Don't you think? The request has been completed since we've rescued them. We're now free to do as we please, aren't we? It's a common occurrence for the people you rescued to turn against you or switch into being your enemy. If they're not happy with being rescued and cut their ties, I'll kill them. Don't. I reluctantly nodded since Sword held me back. I guess I'll keep it at a level where they won't die. I looked at one of the old buggers. Hey, you there. If you claim that we're at fault for your party members having died because we came too late to your rescue, how much responsibility do you carry for having taken the C rank exam? What was that? I'm asking you how much responsibility you bear for letting your friends die in such an easy dungeon because you didn't even possess the ability to protect them. Sword slapped his forehead. Hey, give him a break. He lost his cool because his friends died. You got to understand that he can't cope with it unless he lays the blame on someone else. And that's you then? I don't get the reasoning. The people of this world are truly selfish. I got to say, this place seems to be teeming with folks who blame their own mistakes on others. Hey. Sword placed a hand on my shoulder. He's blaming someone else because he lost his cool, and you get blamed even though it's not even your fault. I don't understand how this kind of logic would even work. You, explain it to me. Tell me why Sword's having come too late for the rescue would be at fault for your party members having died. Did you ask Sword to help you? I was always at his side, but I've never heard you utter any such words. You know, having come too late for the rescue would mean that you had at least requested Sword to rescue you guys and that Sword accepted that request, right? Of course it'd have come with the term that he'd need to take responsibility in case you died, no? But I don't know anything of such an exchange between you two. Come on, hurry up and answer me. Shut up. In the first place, our pace got messed up because you went ahead so quickly. Whoa. How scummy. Now this guy is trying to push the blame on me. In the next moment, Sword kicked him, blowing the moron away. I feel like it was you who warned me to not kill them. I retorted, but got ignored. I can forgive it if you stick to blaming me. I'm an S rank, so I'll accept the blame if I hadn't been in time despite I'm still been alive when I headed out for the rescue. But, why do you blame an unrelated adventurer who took the same exam as you? Also, care to tell me what you've said to her before the exam started? Well, Sword grabbed the guy by the hair with a somehow scary face, and started to question him. You said she's set to pass this rigged exam thanks to her connections, and you ridiculed her with only an idiot would run so quickly even after the exam started, didn't you? In other words, you considered her to be someone who'd pass through her connections without even having the ability to back it. Right? So, why would such a superb adventurer like you fail to pace himself due to the existence of a stupid D-rank adventurer who doesn't know how to pace herself in a rigged exam? Come on, tell me. Why? Explain it in a way I can understand. After having been kicked, the guy started to bawl while groaning. Sword clicked his tongue, threw him on the ground, and gave him another kick. I looked down at the idiot, tilting my head to the side. Shouldn't we rather say that he's the one to be blamed the most for his party members having died? In short, he's desperately pushing the blame on you and me because he wants to shirk his own responsibility, and not because he lost his cool. Don't you think? It's a really common trick among selfish old men with a big pride who specialize in shifting the blame. He reminds me of my otherworld's boss. When I looked up, I noticed that everyone was watching us with indescribable expressions. It is very reasonable for you to have taken offense, but please leave it at that. We still have some business with these guys. Okay. Sword spat out a deep sigh, and turned around. Somehow Sword seems to be acting weird. It looked like we'd be given a ride on a carriage on the way back to town, but I didn't want to get on something that shook so much. Hence, I'll ride Ryoku. I can take those who are injured or totally exhausted with me, if you like. If you're worrying about peeing or puking, don't worry. I can give you a lift after making you faint. I said out of deepest kindness, but everyone shook their heads at ultra-high speed. Chapter 33. When we arrived at the guild, they immediately announced the results. With me passing with flying colors, the ones failing were predictably the two parties we rescued. Moreover, the rescue operation resulted in a penalty for them. But why? Didn't the guild request their rescue on its own accord? I asked Sword. Say, are there any people unwilling to pay the fine while bickering that they'd have been able to escape by themselves and thus didn't need the rescue decided upon by the guild? I mean, it totally sounds like something the people of this world would brazenly do. They exist. He answered simply. Figures. In other words, they get what they want by whining. Whether it's a gain for them depends on the person, I'd say. I looked in the direction Sword pointed at with his jaw. Such a huge amount of money. Don't screw around. You decided by yourself to rescue us, and on top of that, 3 of our party members died. So why would we have to pay a fine? They flared up at an examiner. Yep, they fit the template quite perfectly. However, looking at the girl party, the calm girl calls out to the girl with the short fuse. Kathy. We would have likely died back then if he hadn't come to rescue us. You know, the swordswomanish girl also joined in to stop Kathy by grabbing her shoulders and shaking them lightly. I know. It looks like that stopped her fit of anger. As for the remaining party, the examiner sighed, and after casting a glance our way, turned around. We should have explained the rules behind making a rescue request to you before the exam. In the first place, you should have been told about it when you joined the guild. In case you accept dungeon and timed requests, there will be cases when the guild puts up a rescue request if the deadline has been exceeded by more than 2 full days. In case it's unnecessary, inform us in advance. All of this should have been covered during the short training course. I vehemently shook my head. I haven't heard about any of this. When I looked up to Sword, he was smiling wryly. Come to think of it, there was a short training course, wasn't there? Totally slipped my mind. Isn't that a fairly important piece of information? It's my first time hearing about what he said just now. Not like it matters since you're with me anyways, right? That's no good, is it? I'll try to take the short training course next time. Yep, let's do that. I haven't agreed to anything like that. See, I've got a comrade in this. And middle-aged dude, though. Anyway, I don't see why it's necessary to pay a fine for a rescue that wasn't even in time. I ain't gonna pay a dime. The other middle-aged dude seems to have no energy left to say anything. He's merely sitting there like a lifeless doll. It appears he's trying to come to terms with his party members having died. Or rather, his reaction is the normal one as far as I know. Why is the other old man so lively? Sword, the fine is basically our pay for completing the request. Right? Does it mean we won't get paid for the request if that guy gets what he wants? Who knows? That depends on the guild. If the guild decides that they won't pay us cause he's claiming that he hasn't been rescued, we'll go empty. Otherwise, we're going to be paid, no matter what that guy does. Say, do such things happen often to you? Yeah, it's common. By the way, one time it was the other way round too. Other way around? I tilted my head in confusion. Folk claiming that they rescued me showed up, demanding cash for achieving the request. Huh? Something like that works? Before I knew it, I was stranded. The folks with whom I had partied back then reported the accident, and the guild accepted. The request was accepted as soon as it was put up. I joined up with the folks who had accepted it. Halfway, when I went back to the guild without knowing anything, I was told to fork over the money for the request. Wow, he's totally been set up. Did you pay? Would you have done it in my case? I'd slaughter those geese without paying. Don't ask the obvious. Hey, just a seconds, okay? I didn't slaughter them or anything. Just do it. As I was thinking that, Sword coldly looked at the old dude bickering with the examiner. If you say you won't pay, very well. Then the guild will never accept a request from you in the future, no matter what kind of. The man froze up. What was that? It means the guild will take appropriate measures towards adventurers, if they don't follow the rules. If you don't like it, quit being an adventurer and leave the guild right now, especially seeing how it has been your fault for letting your friends die. You say they're at fault for not being in time to rescue them? Aren't you taking the job of adventurer way too lightly? Adventurers are the ones doing the saving. If you claim that it's only natural for you to get rescued, stop being an adventurer and become a villager. Oh, so everyone thought the same after all, huh? I feel like he somehow said something important there. If you don't pay the fine, will the guild stop accepting your requests? Yep. What about Sword who didn't pay back then? When I looked up to him, he answered, it's just as you suspect. Even nowadays I can't submit any requests with the guild, and they won't put up any rescue requests for me either. In other words, they won't ever be able to trick you with the same scam again? I guess so. Sword smiled bitterly. Humphrey, then I'd love for the same to apply to me as well. If someone used that scam right in front of my nose, I'd want to kidnap them, drag them deep into the mountains where no man visits so that no one can put up a rescue request for that person, and bury them in the ground up to their neck. You're way too extreme. After shouting, he ruffled my hair. Well, even if I were deep down in the shit, I don't think the guild would be able to contact anyone capable of saving me. Also, I'll rescue you whenever necessary, so don't worry. You won't need to rely on the guild, K.N.R. You don't need to come even if something happens to me. His hand stopped. If it's something I can't handle, the same would likely apply to you as well. So don't waste your life. I have no attachments to this world, and I plan to use the taboo spell right before my death. Since you'd be polluted if you were nearby, stay away. Ouch ouch. He's grinding my temples. Why tilda it's up with you showing off as you please, pipsqueak. Just be a nice girl and wait for me to rescue you. I've just told you that you don't need to come. Sheesh. Where's your reply? Stay away. Ouch ouch ouch. My temples are ground once more. Saying all that, you'd want me to come? I mean, I'd be about the only one who might be able to help you if you get yourself in trouble, right? He removed his hands. I really wonder. I can't even begin to imagine such a situation, though. You could get deceived by someone, no? In such a case I'd slaughter everyone involved. Stop it, please. After all, you sound like you'd really do that. He requested of me. The girls carried their belongings to the guild and turned them into money, somehow managing to pay off their fine. The middle-aged dudes became debt slaves. When I got startled hearing about slavery, Sword gave me an explanation. It's just that the implications of the term are bad. In reality it seems to simply entail unpaid work as a living with food provided. As expected, it looks like the guild's request ban is pretty nasty. Even if you stop being an adventurer and pick another job, you won't be able to rely on the adventurer guild for anything. And assuming you continue as adventurer, they won't move in any way to save you if necessary. As for me, I safely got my rank up to C rank. The next goal is B rank. I also took a short training course. Many of the participants were children at the same age as me, and I fully realized why Sword had told me that I wouldn't need it. The course mainly focused on how to use weapons and methods of gathering. The parts you really need to watch out for haven't been explained much. No, actually they did explain them, but I didn't listen. After all, they limited it to a rough summary at the end. I think it'd be better if you explained the most important stuff at the very beginning. What's the point in doing it at the end when everyone's ability to focus has already waned? I voiced my opinion at the last part of the training course, the question and answer section. The people around me looked at me blankly, and the guild staff member smiled bitterly. Those things will naturally become a deeply ingrained part of your life if you continue completing requests. Wasn't there just recently a guy who fell into slavery because it didn't become a deeply ingrained part of his life? Since I've taken the short training course to prevent this from happening, put more emphasis on that than the way of handling weapons. The ways of how to handle weapons is nothing you can learn in a day in the first place. But, if you're once told, if you dislike paying a fine for getting rescued, then exclude the option from the beginning. Most people would be able to understand. When I came back, the old drunkard, who had already downed quite a bit before sunset, asked me, "So, how was it?" I was popular. After the short training course finished, I received party invitations from almost everyone. When I turned them down, explaining that I already had a party and that I took the training course because I didn't know of its existence, all of them became disappointed. I was super popular among the boys and girls. See, I do have some charisma. When I threw out my chest in pride, he replied something outrageous with a sleepy, indifferent attitude. "You're just making your belly stick out by emphasizing that washboard of yours. And zero vlust.c0m! Don't talk about something that's been bothering me as eel. My current self is somewhat different from my otherworld self. I've been telling myself that I'd get my secondary growth spurt anytime soon, but my otherworld self already wore a bra when she was as old as I am now. Didn't she? Her periods had already started as well. No, I already felt like it's a bit too little, but isn't it actually completely flat? Sword poked fun at me while laughing. Been worrying about it? But look, you got nothing womanly to you anyway. Seen how your insides are those of a middle-aged guy, and your appearance that of a boy, right? Shoot, you are up. It's fine. In exchange, my legs are beautiful. My otherworld self had a big chest, but her legs were thick. In short, she was chubby. This body looks awfully flat, but its legs are very beautiful. I lolled my leg in front of Sword, but he just looked terribly annoyed. With my current body, I'm going to win any contest with my legs. You planning to tempt a grown-up with that childish figure? Get real. Sorry, but I like my tits big. I've got no craving for the legs of a little lass. Oh, you like big chests, huh? How unexpected. Old man, you too, eh? Now that's unexpected. His reply feels totally lackluster though. You misunderstood. My otherworld self had a big chest. Once again he looked at me as if annoyed. My legs were thick, though. But I had confidence in my upper body and hands. What kind of confidence? Even though you're a kid, the knowledge of a perverted old man runs deep in you. Restrain yourself a bit. I'm talking about my appearance. I was often praised for the whiteness and smoothness of my skin from collar to chest. My lover back then had a leg fetish, though. He told my otherworld self that it was still better than having no chest at all, but that he preferred older women with pretty legs. Since he went out with me, who was younger and had thick legs, despite that, it probably means that there's simply a difference between ideal and reality. A drop of water suddenly dropped down. Sword stared at me with a surprised face. His face became blurry. I see. I guess I did love him. I can't recall his face anymore since coming to this world, but I do remember his bad personality. We fought frequently. But, seeing how we went out with each other for a long time, both of us must have liked the quarreling. I wonder what he's doing now. Was he reincarnated like me? When I came to, I noticed that I was being hugged by Sword. Him stroking my head. What? You want to meet that man? No, I just became somewhat sentimental. I finally got pretty legs, and even though I wanted to show them off to him, I simply remembered the guy, who would praise them so much, isn't around anymore. It's something that happens often. Yes, that's why you don't need to mind me. You yourself are a worrywart. When it comes to me, and the guys from the other day. Sword's body froze with a twitch. The opening bracket alcohol closing bracket contained in liquor dulls your thinking. You temporarily stop thinking about things you'd like to forget, and you think and act on ideas you wouldn't usually come up with since your normal discernment is gone. It's fine as long as you enjoy that. But if you don't, stop drinking liquor and escaping into the embrace of women. You might as well use your drunken drive to get completely naked bottom down and make merry by bouncing and dancing around out on the streets. I immediately earned myself a fist with this. Your ideas are way too messed up, as if I could ever do that as an S rank. Ouch. I really can't tell whether you're someone trying to act cool or not. It'll be alright. It's completely normal for drunkards to pull off something like that. It was the same in the other world as well. That other world of yours sounds totally scary. Guess so. The other world wasn't filled with that many of such people, but I wonder why my entire environment was overrun with them. There was even a drunkard who got arrested after driving a stolen bike in front of a train station, right into a police box, wasn't there? Also, it's fine to run away into the embrace of a woman, but take proper responsibility for whatever comes out of it. Or to be precise, marry her. Could I have you stop getting on with the story on the assumption that I've something going on with a woman? I mean, haven't you been staying out all night recently? I am totally aware that you've been washing yourself secretly so that I wouldn't notice whenever you came back, you know? Standing up, I gently placed my hands on his shoulders. It's okay. Inside I'm an adult. I know all about sex. I also understand the workings of guys. I won't pry into what you're doing with some random woman, nor am I going to hold any sermons about it. But you see, you can't copulate in a way that prevents children in this world, can you? Unfortunately I'm the product of two people who couldn't restrain their sexual desires and they made me without any love involved whatsoever. Thus I can fully understand the pain of children like me. So make sure to take responsibility and give your kids the love they deserve. I've been trying to tell you, I haven't been doing it. Could you spare me from arbitrarily pushing responsibility on me while interpreting things as you like? You don't want to take responsibility that much? But, just so you know, I'm going to make you take responsibility if any victims of your irresponsible acts show up. Seeing me sulk, Sword grinned broadly. The guy you're going to marry is going to have it tough. Well, The first issue would be whether it's actually a man you'd marry. Is he trying to tease me? Don't worry, I have no intention to marry, be it man or woman. I've got absolutely and utterly no desire to hook up with anyone, nor to allow my bloodline to continue in this world. If I'm lucky enough to survive, I plan to live my remaining years surrounded by yokas. Sword froze once more. And then he hugged me once again. Then how about carefreely living with me? It's a coincidence, but I got no plans to marry either. Nor do I feel like leaving behind offspring. I thought that I'd probably continue fighting strong enemies and then die someday after running into an enemy I can't defeat. But I suppose I'll live with you for as long as I survive. I wonder what that guy is talking about. No, you have to take responsibility, right? I've friggin' told you that I didn't do it. Chapter 34. I recalled a conversation we had. If I make a yoku, do you want one as well? Yes, please. An instantaneous reply. The opening bracket parallelization closing bracket. To describe it, let's see. The yokas use a system where all yokas memorize what a single yoka learns. But if you're okay with that, I'll prepare a personal yoka for you. We received the money for completing the request, so I'll be able to make it if I gather a few more materials. Tell me anything you need, I'll get it for you. He wants one so badly, even though he looked so coldly at my yoka in the past. Is it okay for me to specify a color? Sure, but I don't know whether I'll be able to mix the color as you want. Also, exclusive functions for the frame are no option. It's possible if it's an extra function through the removal of other parts. But if not, your yoku might not be able to move properly. I don't mind either way, so please make one for me. Ever since the liquor, it's the first thing he's really eager about. I can also change its size. What should I do? Making it too big is, well, it won't be able to fit through narrow places, right? Most likely, yep. So far there's been no problem, but I've been wondering whether a slightly smaller version would be better. In the end he told me to keep the size as it is now and use a white color. I was sure you'd ask me for red. Why would you bring up red of all things? Red is the personal color of Bloody Witch. Is that how it works? And Sword's personal color is white? If we're speaking about the personal color of Thunderclap Whitefang, it's obviously gotta be white. What was that? Just now I heard some weird words. Do your best, Mr. Translator. What I heard. What was it again? Mr. Translator has ceased working in my brain. Never mind. Anyway, my personal color as S-rank adventurer sword is white. That's what I told you. I see. Some strange words reached my ears, and my brain rejected translating them. It must have been my imagination. Yep. Okay, I see. S-ranks have personal colors, huh? Come to think of it, I've heard that you can choose a color once you made a name for yourself. The ace pilot of the other world's ducal army also had red as personal color. Over here red seems to be assigned to Miss Bloody. Still, that sure is a crazy name. You'll be able to pick one as well once you become an S-rank, you know? Rather, I feel like folks selfishly set the color, going by what you use preferably as your personal color. Though blue-green is the only choice for me. Alright, I'm going to actively use blue-green on everything from now on. Which reminds me, what are you going to use for the frame? Unless you're fixated on iron, even mithril or adamantite would be possible since I'm gonna pay. No, I won't use any metals. If I did that, automatic self-repair wouldn't be possible in case of damage, right? Maintaining the painting would be a pain as well, and above all, it'd make the yoku heavy. That's why it's best to go with a carapace similar to insects and crustaceans. If it gets damaged to such an extent that the automatic self-repair can't fix it anymore, it'll repair itself by molting. Sword's smile froze. That's totally like a spider, isn't it? Molting? Why the hell molting? The yokas are a lot more amazing than spiders. After all, they can automatically repair most of the damage they might receive. A normal spider can't do that, can it? If you throw magic elements into the mix, it's really anything goes. Note, Indra-san was at an age of 5 already at a level where she could read and write difficult books, but when her memories revived, the language from her previous life entered her brain. What made matters worse is her not having talked much with other people of her current world ever since then, so the language of her thoughts has become that of her previous world. Basically she's bilingual, but when she's confronted with words she doesn't want to comprehend, she'll deliberately translate them as "what does this expression mean?" Several days later. I'm done. If you got the design specifications, A Ryoku is easier to build than assembling a plastic model. Magic is so convenient. I have registered your biometrics. He'll listen to my orders as well, but you have the highest authority. Nice to meet you, Mr. Sword. I am Ryoku. He gives a cute greeting while lifting a hand. Oh drat, he's so friggin' cute that I might die from an overdose of sweetness. Why are all of them called Ryoku? I won't accept any requests for name changes. Ryoku is Ryoku, period. Howard. Well, whatever. Best regards. No matter what he might say, he seems happy. He's pleased with his Ryoku. Did the extras work? Yep, that side is okay. The extra addition Sword suddenly came up was to fire lightning spells from the grenade launcher and not the usual 40mm bomb spells. In other words, it's that, isn't it? The ninjutsu sounding like the cry of a chidori that was used at the early stage by a copy ninja of the other world. 1. The Ryoku back at the mansion can't use it. But since it's an extra, I got to avoid letting it waste away by not using it after assigning it. Let's make sure to make it usable while doing the maintenance once I get back to the mansion. According to the information pulled through the parallelization, the Ryoku back in the mansion seems to be helping with the farming, plays and giggles around with the maids, goes shopping with the cook, and so on. He appears to be so convenient that the mansion's guards are asking whether Ryoku wouldn't be plenty to handle the entire guard protocol. Moreover, the mansion Ryoku has become able to talk adorably. Why is only my Ryoku different despite both Ryokus supposedly being connected? Asterisk. After I made him his own Ryoku, Sword finally started to distance himself from liquor. I suspect it comes from me having secretly added a warning as a basic function, telling him, Mr. Sword, drinking too much liquor won't only damage your main body's internal devices, but it will also create processing delays of your operational circuits and memory lines, you know. Here you go with some water. When I felt relieved about that part, he stroked my head. Sorry, I made you worry, didn't I? Your liquor is bad liquor. Enjoy drinking it to the extent of marching around with Ryoku while singing loudly without exposing your bottom half. Just make sure to remember that the idea that it'll be alright since you've drunk an antidote won't work. And 0vlisp.c0m, gotcha. You're really clear-cut, aren't you? What would you think if a person died because they received a request for fun as if playing the game? As in them dying out of carelessness? I think that'd be their bad luck at work then. Something much like someone sneaking in during a test run of a Ryoku and getting accidentally shot, for example. Sword shook his head. I meant when that person got killed in front of your eyes after accepting a request without a care because they believed it to be a walk in the park. You mean the thing from the other day? That's why I said what about it? If it was so hard on you, it'd have been fine if I had handled it instead of you. He shook his head once more. Such people have never died in front of your eyes, right? I wonder whether you'd be so clear-cut about things if you had seen such a scene. The only person I'd want to rescue is you. Sword came to a grinding halt upon those words. The things you've seen as someone who only knows this world, and the things I've seen as someone who's lived in this world and the other, are different. It's no like I don't feel anything either. But, in my eyes, this world is far too brutal. I won't bother to worry about what happens to the people of this world to the extent of whittling down my own spirit. I'll get angry if a Ryoku gets destroyed, and if you get killed, I'll destroy the world alongside your murderer. However, I won't care about other people to such an extent. Sword's bitter smile gradually deepened. The guy, who was your man in the other world, might have come to this world as well. No, and yet you'd destroy the world? My other world self and my current self are different. That'd be the same for the man who was my lover in the other world. Even if we met each other, we wouldn't recognize one another, and even if he's now living in this world, I'll stick to my previous words. The only one I would want to rescue is you alone. I understand. Sword caressed my head. Things have become slightly worrisome. It's because Sword is kinda crying. If it's so hard on you, I'll handle all the rescue missions from now on. Chapter 35, Sasha. Crimson Lilies Are a Maiden's Oath has mostly ceased its operations nowadays. Since we've turned everything into money, even selling off our equipment, we wouldn't be able to take on anything but collection requests and odd jobs like we did as G ranks. Thus we've decided to do individual jobs to earn money. Kathy is working at an inn as a live-in. Given that people capable of using fire magic are highly valued, she seems to be given a fairly decent wage. The other day she smiled bitterly, bickering, Isn't it totally outrageous that this job earns me more than working as an adventurer? Some adventurers ridicule and jeer at us for being in such a mess, but on the other hand, some encourage us. The latter seem to grow in number the higher their rank as adventurers. I'm pretty sure it's because they know that having survived is more important than being broke, and that we'll be able to make a living as adventurers again as long as we continue without becoming discouraged. N0 of Lust. C0M. In the past, our party would have belonged to the group of people ridiculing and looking down on others. But now it's different. We've started to honestly do our best. But I was naive in many respects. I never realized it until I felt death looming over me. Being pulled along by Kathy, I pushed all responsibility on her while leaving all decisions to her. Even though I knew that we should have headed back a lot earlier, I didn't say a word, just for the reason that it'd be troublesome to persuade and pacify Kathy. But that was wrong. We're a party, so we have to talk with each other since it involves the lives of all of us. I'm sure he also shares his opinion, even if his partner is an S-rank adventurer. I've got to follow that example a lot more. As a matter of fact, I've been meeting and talking with him while keeping it a secret from Kathy and Liz. Kathy always flies into a rage thanks to her personality, but in reality it's pretty obvious that she's head over heels for him. I also didn't miss how Liz became as bright red as an apple when he gave her medical treatment. But, at that moment, the instant he planted himself in front of us in the blink of an eye and erased the spell, I also fell in love with him. He answered me normally when I chatted him up during a normal situation. He is younger than me, but has a very pretty face. He is a bit slender, but not only his magic, but also his swordsmanship seemed to be amazing. And he was strong enough to run while carrying us three with ease. What gave me the finishing blow is his silky hair and him not stinking like the other men. When I spotted him the other day, I boldly called out to him. I worried what I'd do if I'd get ignored again, but he stopped and looked back at me. We had to even sell off our equipment to pay the fine, and currently we're earning money by doing odd jobs. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm deeply grateful to you for saving us, and no, that's no sarcasm or anything. I firmly believe it, because being alive allows us to keep being adventurers as long as we do our best like this. That's why, thank you for saving us. He smiled gently. I see, but please give your thanks to Sword. I just accepted the request because he's my partner. Sword has been unlucky since the guys he rescued insulted him for it, so he got hurt and has been feeling down. I think he'd be delighted to hear that you're grateful. Also, I share your opinion. Making great efforts while being positive about the future isn't for anyone's sake but your own. The process of persevering while believing that you'll achieve your dreams one day is very important. I got to see his modesty and diligence. When I met him for the first time, he only seemed very peevish, but now he is treating me very gentlemanly. When I called him Mr. Sword's pupil, he denied it over and over again. He is claiming that he learned everything himself. That's awesome. He explained that he met Mr. Sword by chance, and when Mr. Sword invited him to work as adventurers together, he simply accepted it. But now it makes sense. I mean, everyone would be pissed if you agree on something like this, and yet get dumped the instant you arrive at a town. That golem. Is something he built after teaching himself how. How dreamy. To be honest, it looks like a monster, but the longer I look at it, the cuter it seems to me. It's also wonderful how it'll repeat what you've taught it. As I kept listening to him, I understood his amazingness and how much he's cherishing Mr. Sword. Whenever we talk, Mr. Sword will pop up as a topic, so it's obvious that he is worrying about Mr. Sword. Some people in town are against Mr. Sword. In reality, Kathy is one of them as well. According to her, he's drinking booze at bars while treating folks to expensive liquor every night. She also mentioned that he's recently going around with a white golem that looks just like his golem, boasting that it's his exclusive golem. Kathy seems to have heard all of this from the inn's customers, and felt disappointed about it. Isn't that the cash he got from our fine? Even that guy, who did nothing but bicker around, fell into slavery because he couldn't pay up, and yet he uses that money to treat himself and others to booze, and to buy a golem. Why don't you feel anything after hearing that? Wouldn't it have been okay for them to at least lower the fine? But isn't it a normal reward for completing a request? Even we would have hated it if someone told us how to spend our money when we completed requests to save villagers. No. That's true, but it looks like various things happened to Mr. Sword during that rescue, and he has been feeling down ever since, trying to drown his pain with liquors. Moreover, it's not like his liquor has been bought with the money for saving us. It seems it's the liquor he's brought with him from his own brewery. Besides, I heard he didn't buy that gallon, but he made it for him. They said he built it for Mr. Sword as encouragement. Sasha, don't you know awfully much about all of this? How come? It's the gossip of the town, you know? I deceived her with a cheerful smile. No matter what, I won't ever tell her that I've heard it from him. Asterisk. When I heard that he would leave town, I cried. I'll do my best, so you do the same. Let's meet again as adventurers. I nodded at his words. And lastly, I'm no he, but a she. Please address me like that when we meet next, okay? He departed, leaving those cryptic words behind. Wait, she? What's that about? Chapter 36. We move to the next town. Listen, stay clear from rescue requests. I'll take care of those. You do other requests. I've been telling you. I've got it. Sorry for making you worry. Somehow it looks like Sword is fairly sensitive despite his insensibility. As soon as he gets blamed just a bit, he immediately starts feeling depressed. I'd love to tell him to learn the soundproof spell and simply ignore the whining. Suddenly I got holed up in Sword's arms. You've never seen anyone die before, have you? You might suffer a far heavier shock than me if you actually witness it. I've lopped off monster heads and dismantled their bodies with these hands. You know? Should I prove to you that I can kill a person by doing it in front of you and dismantling them? I was thrown on the ground. Your senses are totally messed up. What? Are people and monsters on the same level in your other world? What kind of world is that supposed to be? I rubbed a place that hit the ground. Ouch. Some people over there didn't consider them to be of the same level, but I see no difference between them. What's up with the idea of regarding only humans as holy even though animals, fish, insects, and even plants are alive just as much? If you say they're different just because of language comprehension, then I can assure you that the animals I kept when I lived in the other world understood my words just fine. If those guys got killed, I'd have definitely grieved, and I'm confident that I'd have murdered the one who killed them, even if it was another human. Sword sighed. In short, all that matters for you is whether you cherish someone, huh? The people of this world lead wars, don't they? So they warrant killing other humans as long as they regard it as justified, but only when a human gets killed by a monster. Do they mourn their death? Actually, I'd say I don't understand your view on this. When people, who calmly kill other people, get attacked by monsters, you try to rescue them, and wail in sadness if you fail at it. That makes absolutely no sense. Personally, I'd mourn if a monster, who loved me, got killed by some human for the sole reason of it being a monster. Sword groaned while being at a loss. That might be true, but that's why I'm telling you that I'll do it. Between us two, I'm the one who's capable of carrying out a task indifferently as part of a job. Roger. The middle-aged man looked dispirited. N0VLISP.C0M. As I was checking out the requests at the guild after we arrived at the next town, I plainly announced, Sword, let's split up and work separately. Sword became dumbstruck. Huh? There's a request I want to do. Since I can handle it myself, I'd like to work solo on this one. It's a request that has piqued my interest. Wait, sure, it might be proactive to go with a murder request, but I'm worried because it's likely that you'd get totally off the right track. I told you that you don't have to show me how you dismantle a human, so please give it a rest. Okay? Just what does he consider me to be? There's no way that I'd actually show him how I dismantle a human, is there? Of course I'd do it if asked, but I don't have the hobby of dismantling useless materials that won't even sell. You're wrong. Do you want to do it together with me then? Alright, I guess you can do this while I'm being taught. I pointed at a gathering request. Sword furrowed his eyebrows. That's quite a few different types. Moreover, it's time limited and the reward is cheap, too. Hey, this is certainly a request no other adventurer accepts, but you see, it ain't a request we should do either. I want to accept it. It might be easy for you, but I want to learn a bit about the various types of medicinal plants. Sword sighed very, very deeply. Your I want to learn means you plan to make medicine, right? But, you've never gotten injured yourself, have you? The other day you said you used something you made yourself, but honestly, even without you going out of your way like this, We can cover everything with a single healing potion. Also, I'm an S rank, you remember? I've got plenty of cash laying round. I also own special grade healing potions, not to mention all the high grade potions. That's not the issue here. I puffed up my cheeks and pursed my lips. For some reason it caused Sword to flinch. I hate such loveless medical treatment. If you get injured, I want to properly heal your wounds with something I made with my own hands. Gotcha. Accept the request. And if I get injured, you'll heal me. The old man's bashful side seems to have come out. Either way, I got his permission. You're really. Maybe it's that other world knowledge of yours, but sometimes you sure say stuff that can be easily mistaken as a pickup line. Sword mumbled under his breath. That's why I've been telling you that this world is way too brutal. Having the parent apply the healing with their own hands if a child falls over, or having a pretty woman apply the medicine on the wound with her white, slender fingers if a guy gets injured engenders feelings of gentleness and calmness, right? Didn't you just casually drop a line you'd hear from a perverted old man in there? I ignored him. In short, what I want to tell you is to not drink healing potions unless you're in a situation where you'll be killed if you don't heal yourself right away. I have you understood. Since I have a boy with the mind of a middle-aged guy at my side, I'll let myself get healed by him. That's a nasty thing to say. Asterisk. I accepted the request, and visited the client first. Sword accompanied me as well. It looks like he wants to make sure that it's safe. It's in a fairly remote location. The location of the client was deep in a place that would be described as slum in the other world, at the end of a row of houses that looked like they'd fall apart at the first earthquake. Let's see. Oh, this is the place. General Pharmacy was written above the door. Asterisk. When I tried to energetically enter, Sword grabbed my shoulders, stopping me. What's up? When I looked back, Sword was looking at me with an indescribable expression. This face, if I remember correctly, he had pulled the same expression in the first town we visited, hadn't he? I reflexively put myself on guard. You're planning to become the apprentice of a pharmacist? Why, no. In the first place, I don't even know what the pharmacists of this world do. There are some plants I need, but I don't know how they look in this world. I've been merely planning to try asking while completing the request. He let go of me with relief written on his face. I became slightly sullen, and added, you as well. Don't start telling me to become a pharmacist apprentice to experience some of the world, okay? He roughly stroked my hair. As if I'd do that. Silly, you looked like you would. Huh? I didn't even think about it, so why would I pull such an expression? That's what I want to know. I quickly turned my face away, no clue. Previously, when we went to the first town, you had the same face. Huh? No idea. I haven't become uneasy or anything. And if I say I haven't become uneasy, then it's a fact. Finishing the talk, I opened the door. Asterisk. Once I entered the pharmacy, my excitement rose due to the characteristic fragrance tickling my nose. Yep, this is the smell of crude medicines I know so well. Sword looked somewhat doubtful. Oh my, you're quite the lovely customer, aren't you? Commented the granny inside the pharmacy. No, I'm not a customer. I'm the adventurer who found and accepted the request you put up with the guild. Oh, Miss Tiny Adventurer, you're going to handle my request? Correct. The one behind me. Well, please don't mind him. So, it's a bit abrupt, but as a matter of fact, I'm not very well acquainted with medicinal plants. I'd like you to give me some pointers for when I'm going to gather them. I suppose I should slowly explain it to you over a cup of hot water then. Seeing the hot water she served, my eyes widened. Opening bracket start grill closing bracket? Huh? Sword retorted while the granny tilted her head in confusion. This here is one of the plants I wanted to find. It has, you see, an effect of warming your body. Also, the opening bracket ginger closing bracket inside also heats up your body. If you make opening bracket arrowroot tea closing bracket by mixing this and several opening bracket natural remedies closing bracket, it'll work against all early, light ailments. It's also effective against stiff shoulders, though I never confirmed it myself. It also contains opening bracket of hydra closing bracket, opening bracket jujube closing bracket, opening bracket cinnamon closing bracket, opening bracket peony closing bracket. Hey, calm down. I've completely stopped understanding what you're talking about. Sword shook me back and forth. I understand. I'll calm down. I breathed in deeply. I breathed out deeply. Excuse me, I just got a tad excited. The granny stared at me, her head still tilted. Miss Tiny Adventurer, are you a pharmacist? No, I'm not. My parents have worked in a similar occupation. I just got a smattering of knowledge about it. But, in this world you can heal everything by just drinking healing potions, can't you? That's quite hard to swallow for me. And then, today, right here, medicines. These are real medicines. Wait. Calm down. We understand, so settle down. Just get a clue that we don't get what you're talking about. Really? He shook me back and forth once more. I breathed in deeply. I breathed out deeply. Since the granny silently held out the starch gruel to me, I calmed my mind by drinking it. Anyway, you got to see that there are hundreds of ways to contort medicine with medicinal plants, but the common medicine are limited in types, so as long as I know those, well, I should be somehow able to handle smaller illnesses one way or another. Since I want to make such medicine, I'd like you to teach me about medicinal plants. I don't mind if you keep the details to a level equivalent in value to the amount of money you offered for the request. Sword opened his mouth. The granny laughed. Sure, we've got a deal then. Please take care of me. I held out my hand. So, as you've heard, I'm going to frequent this place for a while. You take another request. However, if it includes saving other people's lives, leave that part to me. Don't do it yourself, no matter what. I already told you that I understand. Still, do you really hate becoming someone's apprentice so much, huh? Why? When I tilted my head in puzzlement, Sword explained. It was the same with me, and you said something similar to that old grandmother as well. Whenever you request to be taught something, you'll always suggest a bargain. Is that how it's handled in the other world? Isn't that normal? No, it's not like that, but if you take the benefit of both sides into account, this way won't turn into one side exploiting the other. Since it'll be necessary to thank her if I get her to teach me either way, I've suggested this method before it turns into an argument. Even you would be more willing to do something if asked while getting offered liquor in exchange than getting asked with nothing but words, right? Just now I totally got it. You sure are a great girl. He stroked my head round. So, what are you gonna ask me for that liquor bottle? Don't drink any liquor until you take the antidote. Somehow, I hate it. Gotcha. I won't promise you with absolute certainty, but I'll refrain. I finally got him to say this. Chapter 37. Several days later, I went to the place Granny told me, dried the plants, and delivered them to her. In exchange, she kept her side of the deal, teaching me the effects of the medicinal plants every day. Sword has been abstaining from alcohol just as he had announced. He's also avoiding any requests that involve saving the lives of others, or rather, those requests seem to be rather rare. Which reminds me, it appears he hunted some amazing monster during a subjugation request, but I haven't seen it. Sword sure is living the life of an adventurer. Me, on the other hand, I haven't done any adventuring in a while. I'm making robots and contorting medicines, or in other words, nothing you could describe as adventuring. But, it's fine. Right now I'm in a period of learning. Once I'm done with this, I'll adventure again. I want to hunt monsters. No, it's pitiful to hunt them indiscriminately, so let's go for a dungeon next. I'll have Sir Dungeon Core pump out formidable enemies for me. Hey. Don't add weird functions to my Yoku. Sword scolded me after coming back. Did something trigger? He started to tell me, Mr. Sword, my tummy hurts, so can we go home? Wetty please. Yikes. What was that? That one got triggered? How enviable. Moreover, smack down in the middle of the guild. I had absolutely no idea what to do, you know. Just answer him. Where was your tummy again? As if I'd say that. Silly. What? Sword's iron claw came down on my head while I was angry since it was obviously a standard answer, so he should have known it. Ouch ouch ouch. NOWLISTEN. Don't waste all your effort on bullshit, girl. That's no bullshit. So, how are things on your side? Are you about done? No, I'm already done. Is how it turned out at least. It looks like this request is a regular type, a request I shouldn't have accepted as it's always done by the same local adventurer. Since it pays way too little for the effort it takes, no one other than that girl had been accepting the request, but then I came along and took it up. It'd have been great if the guild staff would have told me all that in advance. But since the staff member knew about the usual adventurer having injured herself and thus being unable to do the request for a while, he had apparently let me do it since he saw no harm in it. When the adventurer in question wondered about the request not being up after having recovered, she heard about me having accepted the request in her absence and kept doing it all the time ever since then. Flying into rage, she then stormed into the pharmacy, yelling, "So it's you, the one who stole my request?" Granny and I stared at her blankly. N0vlisp.c0m. Was she talking to me? And then Granny explained the situation to the angry girl. She had apparently also thought that I, who had interest in medicines, had been sent here instead of the injured girl. I see. It's my bad then. You think all will be fine with that? Obviously. Has anyone suffered any loss from this? Why haven't you simply taken another request? That caused her to completely stall. But she recovered. You're just causing trouble for the pharmacist. Once I looked at Granny, she shook her head. I haven't had so much fun in a while now. Due to her not only being curious, but also very passionate and knowledgeable, it motivated me quite a bit as well. Yeah, it was a big help for me. I'd be troubled if weird side effects would appear from my medicine because they were nothing more than handmade contortions of a novice, but I think Sword and I would have been fine either way. However, after getting your advice, I've gained a bit of confidence. We both smiled at each other, thinking from the bottom of our hearts that it's great to have found a soulmate on this. But that's obviously a lie. Isn't it totally impossible that you haven't caused her trouble? As she was screaming and ranting around, people started to gather, and she began to blather about me being a scoundrel and criminal who planned something evil to deceive Granny. Granny tried to calm her by objecting, but the surrounding people had already sided with the girl, and at this point the situation started to go out of control, requiring suppression by force. Having Yoku act as a messenger, I explained the circumstances to the authorities through the guild staff. The officials hauled in all the rioting folks, and had them stay in prison for having staged an uprising. Since I didn't want Sword to hear about this, I kept it a secret. Anyway, after I explained the situation to the guild staff, he admitted his own mistake, and explained things to the girl. I don't know whether that got her to calm down. No, it's evident that she's still upset. I suppose it's a foregone conclusion that she'll pick another fight with me. Therefore I formally stopped doing that request ever since that day. I didn't go to Granny to bid farewell either, but it can't be helped since I can't get close to her anymore. Asterisk. Okay, the requests on my side are done as well, so let's leave soon. Or rather, this town been an unexpected waypoint anyway. Taking detours is what adventuring is all about. You know, sometimes I'm really jealous of your bottomless positive view of adventuring. It's nothing special. My training period is finally over. All that's left after having obtained the necessary knowledge is to put it into practice. Leave inside the Gillums. What's the point in a training period for obtaining knowledge about medicines that aren't even healing potions? He thrust a finger at me, looking sullen. For your information, I can now make any medicine, be it healing potions or antidotes. Sword jumped, apparently startled. Huh? Those are magic tools. Magic tools you drink. And I can make magic tools, huh? Healing potions are magic tools, you say? You have magic elements dissolve in liquid. Well, it's just plain water though. By adding herbs with a high density of magic elements. Once you drink that, it triggers a spell that converts into cells similar to those of a healthy body. Injuries and illnesses are cured thanks to this effect. Antidotes work in a similar way. Seriously? He was looking at me, dumbfounded, but it's true. You're right. I think it's amazing and incomprehensible how this world's magic returns something to its previous state by just chanting something like return to normal. But I've become capable of analyzing how magic elements work, and recreating those analyzed spells is my specialty. So you see, magic elements contain extremely crucial potentials. But since they're elements that didn't exist in the other world, I want to heal without relying on them as much as possible. For this reason I studied medicinal plants. After being lost for words, he stroked me. You really love studying, don't you? I feel like that part clearly shows your noble origin. You won't find any adventurers who like desk work, you know? I don't know about desk work, but I prefer knowing over not knowing. I want to make decisions for the future after I've understood things. However, I should add the limitation to a certain extent. In short, for the reasons I told you just now, when push comes to shove I can make healing potions, and before that, I can also rely on magic, but since it goes against my principles, I made medicines. I held out 2 paper packages to Sword. Take this before drinking liquor. It will strengthen your opening bracket liver closing bracket. The organ responsible for disassembling alcohol, and it'll also improve your water metabolism. If you're plagued by painful feelings, take this one. It'll allow you to sleep soundly without seeing any nightmares while also improving your sleep's quality. Sword stared at me stupefied for a while. In other words, you went there because you wanted to make these? Pretty much. Afterwards, he kept staring at me blankly for a while longer, and then showed me a smile that was so gentle as I'd never seen it before. Thanks. It has a bitter taste which the people of this world aren't used to drinking, but put up with it. Gotcha. He took the packages from me and stored them in his pocket. If you plan to spend your remaining years with me, don't drink too heavily, okay? You're a middle-aged guy, so if you indulge in liquor too much, you'll croak early, got it? That's none of your business. But I'll be careful. Sword had been looking at me with a soft face all the time. Suddenly the phrase, "I'll show you that I've got the same feelings even 10 years down the line," crossed my mind. I said them to my lover, didn't I? I also remembered the lines 10 years later. See, even 10 years later I haven't changed a bit. Have I? Yeah, I realized as much even before that. He had answered me as if it was only natural. That's what I've recalled now. In other words, I thought the same about Sword. That I'll feel the same even 10 years down the line. There's no romantic love or affection between us. He isn't my lover nor my friend. But, I'm sure, we'll still be together 10 years later. Chapter 38. After having prepared everything for our departure, I suddenly noticed that Ryoku was gone. Huh? Do you know where Ryoku is? No? Won't he come running as soon as you call him anyway? He'll come running if I call him, sure, or rather, it's kinda unthinkable for me that he's wandered off somewhere on his own accord. Just as I thought that, he stealthily showed his face from the roof. Oh, Ryoku, why are you in such a place? Did some kind of basic function trigger? I received a request from the pharmacy granny. What was that? After exchanging a look with Sword, Ryoku and I turned on the optical camouflage, and headed to the pharmacy like that with Sword probably unable to see either of us. On the way, I explained to him that the guild had told me to not get involved with them since it had actually been a regular request. I see. Already wonder why it was so low paying. A time limit for a gathering quest is weird. 2. Her exclusive adventurer should have resumed after getting over her injuries, so things should be over with this. Once we arrived at Granny's place, Ryoku drew close to her. Oh, I see, you called her over, haven't you? You're a smart boy. She stroked Ryoku. Wait a second. Why do you get attached to people other than me? I heard from Ryoku that he accepted a request or something like that. That's right. Wait a moment. The guild told me to not accept any requests from you. You have your very own adventurer working for you, don't you? It's about that girl. Unbelievably, that girl had rushed out of the pharmacy to head deep into the forest to gather plants out of some feeling of rivalry with me, even though it was well beyond her abilities. Well, no need to worry then. The guild is going to put up a rescue request after the delivery time passes. If she comes back safely, all will be fine, and if not, they'll send someone to rescue her. Granny shook her head with a sad look. Huh? Isn't that how it works? Looking at Sword, he frowned. In short, you're telling us to rescue her for free without going through the guild? What's this about? When I tilted my head to the side in confusion, Granny started to talk with a somewhat desperate tone. You can tell from looking, can't you? This place is where the penniless gather. That girl was also born and raised here. The reason why I'm running a pharmacy over here is to treat the injuries and illnesses of those who don't have the money to buy healing potions. I have no problems with that. Rather, it makes me happy if my knowledge can be of use to others. Granny sighed. I taught that girl all kinds of things as I wanted her to become like me, but she hated it. She rushed out, saying I'll become an adventurer and earn lots of money. But you see, she lacks composure and is careless. Above all, with her slender arms and her not having the money to buy equipment, Being an adventurer is asking too much. That's why I put up a request to make her gather plants safely. So that regular request was an expression of her kindness. That means I did something bad by having accepted it. But that girl is misunderstanding. Adventurer isn't a job to earn lots of money, but an occupation to go on adventures. Therefore, if that girl has to pay a fine because of that request, it'd still be okay if she can pay it. But I'd feel terrible if she fell into slavery because of it. But, even I don't have any significant savings to pay the fine for her. But, if it's you, I can ask you to save her. No, I'm not that easygoing, you know. I'm sorry, but I don't feel like saving her. That girl is the typical type of person who returns good with evil. I'd love to grant your wish, but since my feeling of not wanting to save her dominates, I have to turn you down this time. Sword cast a sidelong glance at me. Yep, you keepin' something from me? Is totally written on his face. Perceptive guys are unpopular. As I feigned ignorance while facing Sword, Granny took something out with a rustling. This is a medicine of perpetual youth. Well, it's just being called like that as its effect doesn't go that far, and it won't do much good unless you take it every day. Even so, it has the achievement of having healed people who got afflicted by unknown illnesses, after making them take it. My eyes flew wide open, and adrenaline rushed through my veins. N0VLISP.C0M. An effect of opening bracket reactive oxygen closing bracket removal. Huh? Sword immediately reacted. Granny, whose face was somehow dyed with exhaustion, laughed. Idiot. You don't know opening bracket reactive oxygen closing bracket? It's common knowledge. Opening bracket reactive oxygen closing bracket, you see, was the reason for many of the human illnesses in the world I used to be. It's an extremely harmful component to humans. Opening bracket oxygen closing bracket is essential for the human body, but opening bracket oxygen closing bracket also has some very harmful traits. If a body takes in too much opening bracket oxygen closing bracket, it'll turn into opening bracket reactive oxygen closing bracket. The opening bracket reactive oxygen closing bracket will then damage the cells in the human body. I was violently shaken back and forth. I got it. All's fine now, so calm down. I breathed in deeply. I breathed out deeply. Granny guffawed. It sure sounds like I've got your interest with this. So, are you going to take up the request? Wait. Teach me the raw materials too. The material containing components with the highest removal effect I know of is the skin of opening bracket melons closing bracket, which can be harvested in big farming nations. But what would be the equivalent over here? Or are there any plants with an even higher effect? I'm being shaken again. Don't get so riled up. I breathed in deeply. I breathed out deeply. Got it. I'll accept the request. I answered clearly. You've definitely made a mistake with your job choice. You should have become a scholar and not an adventurer. Hearing that remark, Granny commented with a laugh. She's young, so she can still choose her own way in life, can't she? Certainly. She got a point there. Well, you might be right about that, but I don't want to do this as a job. It's one of the things I can enjoy because it's just a hobby. Besides, I haven't adventured yet. You make sure to tell that girl that being an adventurer isn't about earning big money but about going on adventures, once she comes back safely, okay? This time Sword burst into laughter. True, it's just as she says. There's a bunch of other good job for earning lots of dough. You can tell her from me. If you can't come to terms with all the absurdity and irrationality, you won't get far. And if you can't cope with unreasonable violence and slander, you're going to barely manage to make a living without ever making any profit as adventurer. Sword looks like he's making a good profit though. Is it some kind of scheme where he's making good money with some side job? On the way to the destination of the request, he questioned me, as I had already expected would happen. Hey, you're hiding something from me, aren't you? Look, men shouldn't persistently interrogate women about their secrets. Besides, being somewhat thick-headed is the key for any popular guy. When I jerked my head the other way with a huff, it earned me the usual grinding. Ain't no women round anyway. In the first place, I'm not going for being popular. Ooh ouch. It's no major issue. I told you when we went to the pharmacy, didn't I? I accepted the request without knowing about it being regular. So, you got in a fight or something? It caused a tiny ruckus, but that got resolved without a hitch. I've been telling you to expand on that tiny of yours. Well, The person we're going to rescue apparently disliked me having accepted the request on my own accord, and started making an uproar. Without listening to Granny's soothing, she shouted something about me having deceived Granny, resulting in some old blokes appearing from all over the place. Since they began to scream around after getting together, I called the authorities through the guild to help me by taking them in for being a nuisance to the neighborhood. After becoming dumbstruck, Sword thundered at me, "Hey, don't hide something so important. You're exaggerating, you know." The uproar died down when I gently stroked them a bit before things escalated, and the guild employee admitted his own blunder and apologized to me. However, he told me that it'd be better for me to stay away from the pharmacy, and thus I planned to leave the town just like that. I had already found out what I wanted to know about the medicinal plants, and the compounding was finished as well. So I had just been going to Granny because it was so much fun to discuss medicinal plants with her. Sword opened his mouth, about to say something, but then closed it again. Then he caressed my head. "So, you're saying we're going to rescue the one who's responsible for the uproar and you've been forbidden to go there again?" "Yeah." For her to offer me this must mean that Granny is dotting quite a bit on that girl. I showed him the medicine I got. "Though, you'd be about the only person who'd move a finger for that." "That Granny is quite cunning when it comes to asking for things." "No kidding." I nodded. When I looked at the medicine again, Sword laughed. "If it holds such a big value for you, I suppose there's worth doing a request you hate." "Pardon?" "No, it's not like you need to come with me though." Once I turned him down, Sword looked at me with surprise written all over his face. "What are you talking about all of a sudden?" "It's nothing that unusual, is it? Even during simple rescue missions, you'll take damage without knowing it, mental one that is. So, stay away." "Obviously I'm going. Rather, I should actually take your place instead." I frowned, not understanding what he meant. "Why would you take my place?" "I've been telling you for a good while now. I'll take care of all life-saving." "You going to save someone who made others gang up on you while treating you like a criminal?" I expect her to grumble about not wanting to be saved, and she'll likely yell at me even after I rescued her. "So you're still going despite knowing all that?" "That's the value it has." "You mean the medicine you received?" I nodded deeply. Sword looked at me and sighed. "Gotcha. But, I'll come with you." "I'm worried." "And I'm worried about you." I'd really like him to stay out of this when considering him suffering so much mental damage that he starts drinking heavily again. When I sighed as well, he ground my temples again. "That's so unwarranted." "I'm telling you that I'll worry about you. Rather, you should take a tiny bit of mental damage yourself." I was told something terrible by an awfully sulky Sword. If this much were to be enough to cause mental damage, I'd never have survived as noble. Besides, I lived in a far crueler environment when I was little. Compared to that time, this here is no more than a gentle breeze. Wah! I got startled when I was suddenly lifted up by Sword. "Sorry, I wasn't aware of your past environment." I sighed once again. "That's why. I don't want you to suffer damage from the little bit I told you. You need to reflect on things and be more thoughtful, but there's no point in you getting hurt by unnecessary sensitiveness. You're an old guy whose period as a sensitive boy has long passed, after all." I was dropped on the ground. Chapter 39. We arrived in the target area. We've got luck that it's not raining. Apparently she got attacked by monsters. Traces of blood were left on the ground. Going by the amount of blood, she should still be alive, unless she got swallowed whole. The blood around here was a bit too lacking for a fatal wound. Guess we follow the blood traces then? Though she might have been finished off after running out of steam, or gotten devoured. True. Judging by the dryness of the blood, we won't be in time even if we hurry, but then again we don't really need to be anyway. We followed the traces while keeping a watch on our surroundings. And then, a boar. Looks like a fang boar. It's possible to evade these guys if you find a place to hide, but if not, you won't be able to get away. Now then, I wonder which of both applies here. The boar spotted us. It looked this way while shuffling its forefeet. It's got a wild temperament. Don't get attacked. Yoku, take refuge on a tree. Sorry, but I'm going to kill it. "'Kay? No other choice. We'll have it serve as a side dish for dinner." Sword kicked off the ground with a laugh, and beautifully stabbed the area around the boar's heart just as it was about to charge at us. Blood spewed out, and the boar stumbled a step forward, just to collapse in the next moment. I'd really love to process it right here and now, but the request comes first, I suppose. After advancing a bit further, a depressed rock came into sight. Its surface was roughly scratched and shaved off. The boar must have tried to destroy it by thrusting itself against it many times over. Within the rock I discovered a trembling, ghastly pale girl. Sword, I found her. I'll take her back, so please process the boar, I said to Sword over my shoulder as I peered into the rock. We're adventurers who accepted a rescue mission for you. I'll guarantee your safety until we reach town. For starters, come out from there. Hearing that, the girl started to cry, apparently feeling relieved. She came out while quivering. Her lower arm past the elbow was bent. Its bones were completely fractured and the muscles were severed as well. Normal methods would only allow for her left hand to be amputated at this point. I swiftly applied emergency treatment, and fixated her left arm. Here, it's a painkiller, so take it. I passed her a medicine that acts against wound festering, fever, and sepsis. This is. After closely scrutinizing the medicine, she lifted her face, looking at me. Gradually her expression changed into one of surprise. Take it. Its effect is. Well, I guess it's alright. I can't tell since I was never injured myself, but it should work for the most part. I used giant worm for the antifebrile component, but was it actually correct? It's similar to the antifebriles I know. When I asked Sword, he said it's not poisonous, so I think it should be fine. After getting startled, Granny laughed, saying that she never used that ingredient. You're the one from back then. She was trembling all over. She's unexpectedly lively. Or rather, good job of being able to chatter away like this when your arm has turned into such a mess. Most adventurers are brimming with vitality if you rescue them. Even if they were on the verge of death moments ago, in a certain sense, they have my respect for that. I'll carry you to town. No need. If I'm going to be saved by the likes of you, dying would be. She faded out. Dying would be? What's the continuation? Dying would be better? She stayed silent. To be frank, you having died would have been better for our side as well. Unfortunately you don't have a say in this. I've already received the reward for the request. Eh? She looked very relieved. N0VLISP.C0M. I don't really get her. But, well, whatever. I'm only accomplishing my request. Then, give me a healing potion and not some medicine like this. What's with the rude way of referring to my medicine? I don't have any healing potions. I think Sword has some on him. But I'm the one who accepted the request. When I turned around, I got startled as he had drawn super close. Eek. Hey, don't get so close. I'll handle the rescue request, so take care of processing the boar. Right now, Yoku's in the middle of draining its blood. Why have Yoku do it? Please give me a healing potion. This arm won't heal without a healing potion. Let alone being an adventurer, I won't be able to lead a normal life anymore. You're going to rely on a healing potion? Weren't you the pupil of a pharmacist? Sword looked coldly down at her. 5 silver coins for a low-grade healing potion. She froze. I'll work and pay it back. I'll definitely repay you. By the way, the injury of that arm won't be healed with some low-grade healing potions. She gasped. No way. Obviously, no. Healing lost body parts with only 5 silver coins? If that flew, there'd be a lot less reasons for adventurers to retire or die. A high-grade potion only heals ruptured muscles and flesh as well as bone cracks, so you need a special grade potion to recover lost body parts. Besides, if it's broken to such an extent, it'll be too late to do anything once a day passes. It's different when you immediately stick back an arm that got cut off, but regrowing an arm requires quite a few special grade potions. Special grade potions cost 1 platinum coin per piece. I wonder how many you'd need to use of those to get this healed. Can you pay all that? Someone like you? During your lifetime? Like no way. Makes sense. Adventurer is a job where you got to live with those kinds of risks. Getting injured, losing an arm, dying, or being exposed to corpses. If you get cold feet from stuff like that, it's the wrong job for you. I don't know what kind of dream you've got for being an adventurer, but you should have understood by now, right? In the first place, you ran away because you hated being poor and hated studying despite of the great chance of having an excellent pharmacist teach you the ropes. You don't want to do a job that requires working hard because you don't feel like putting some effort into it. That's why you've become an adventurer where you can do as you please. That arm is the price for learning it the hard way. If you finally woke up from that dream of yours, go back to the pharmacist granny, lower your head, and beg her to teach you. She started to cry. See, can't I have you somehow compromise with this arm? Even if I were to aim at becoming a pharmacist, I beg you, please help me. Even if you were to offer me your life, it wouldn't be enough to pay off the costs. Then it'd be better for you to croak. That way I could use my precious special grade potions in a more useful way than wasting them on some stupid lass. The stupid girl was lost for words. No, it'd be a problem if we let her die now. In the worst case I'll take her back after knocking her out. When I retorted calmly, Sword cast a sidelong glance at me. You're as calm about all of this as ever. How? Anyway, let's take her back. The pharmacist lady is going to handle the rest one way or another, right? Correct. Hey, take this medicine. When I tried to hand it over to her, she slapped it down. She doesn't have the cash to pay for healing potions, so why not give her this? Poor man's medicine to ease her mind? Is that what you're trying here? The instant she yelled that, Sword slapped her. Just what is that guy doing? She's my rescue target, and wounded on top of that. Moreover, he grabbed her by the hair afterwards. You bitch. Don't you know that some folks can't even get such a medicine? There are limits to acting like a lil spoiled brat. Stuff like healing potions ain't anything you can buy easily, even not as an adventurer. Adventurers don't have potions for healing injuries, but for killing their enemy after deceiving them that you got injured in battle. For real? I feel like Sword is the only guy who's so extreme, though. That pharmacist Granny contorts medicines and sells them for cheap to poor people like you. With her level of knowledge she should have been a famous scholar or clergy woman. Worrying about the future of a young girl, she said she'd teach her the knowledge she obtained herself, and yet the lass herself looks down on her as a poor pharmacist, and slaps away her medicine because of that. Ha! You're truly a rescue target that's not worth saving at all. Wait, calm. Why is he getting so riled up? No. The one who made that medicine is me. I wanted to test out its effectiveness, but neither you nor I know injury or illness, right? Since that girl got injured anyway, I'll use her as a sample to see whether it works as intended and whether it has any side effects. Both of them froze with a crackling. It's the perfect opportunity. Sword, hold her down just like that. Huh? I forced her mouth open and poured the medicine into it against her will. Now then, it'd be great if it works, but worms were small and narrow in the world I used to be. The worms over here are big, aren't they? I have no idea whether they'll trigger the same effect. Well, it'll probably be alright. Is what I want to believe. Sword and the girl's expression cramped up. Hey, just now you said something about worms and so on, didn't you? Correct. I think it was called giant worm or something like that. That's in there. It has an effect of lowering fever, and alleviates pain. Once Sword let go of her, the girl collapsed on the spot like a pole that lost its balance. Huh? It looks like she's asleep, but it shouldn't have any effect to promote sleepiness. She fainted. She suffered a shock from being fed worms. Why would she faint from that? Chapter 40. We returned to the pharmacy while I carried her on my wooden rack. Granny thanked me profusely while sobbing. She's really such a stupid girl. I fully agree with that. But then again, adventurer is a job that attracts idiots. Sword guffawed. You got a point there. After entrusting the girl to Granny, I stood at the door. We're going to move on. Thanks for everything. I owe you. Oh, right. I went over to Granny and handed it to her. This is. Don't tell me. Granny threw her eyes wide open. Sword tilted his head while watching, and then widened his eyes as well. Hey, that apostrophe s. You gotta be kidding, right? It's a healing potion I made myself. It's different from the ones available on the market as I've tampered with it a tiny bit. I showed them the medicine I received from Granny as reward for the request, and lightly shook it. If you give me this here as reward for the request, it's overpaying. Therefore I prepared something to offset the imbalance. Well, it's handmade, so making it didn't really cost me much anyway. Granny stared at me blankly. I think it's something with a similar effect. I doubt you'll be able to sell it to the guild. Under my name. If you put forth Sword's name, they should buy it off you since this guy seems to be some kind of big shot. 1 platinum coin, was it? Sword was dumbfounded as well, but came back to his senses upon my question. N0vlisp.c0m. I've got no doubt that they'll check it out. But if they can prove its effectiveness, well, half of that. No, we're talking about you here. so maybe they're going to set the price to twice that. Can you estimate how much of an effect it's got? I placed a hand on my chin. Let's see. Bones or parts regarded as bones will regrow. The two stared at me in shock. But, they will just regrow, you know? I don't know whether they'll work normally again since I never used it myself. It'd just be an arm made with a healing potion. I guess you could also call it ultra high-speed cultivation for transplantation. In short, it'd be an arm made by copying an arm. You totally lost me there. It's difficult to explain. If you chant a spell along the lines of arm, grow in this world, the arm will regrow in the same way as before for some reason, but I don't get the principle behind that. But even without fully understanding it, I know a spell that will transform magic elements into cells to create a tissue, so I mixed up the spell formula for that. It'd be much simpler if the usage had a clear specification, but when it comes to creating a general-purpose application, it's kinda tough. Since I assembled the spell formula like program code, I enjoyed doing it despite it being a challenge. This only makes it more clear to me that you've totally made a mistake in what path to take in life. I've got fun with it because it's a hobby. But, this world's an arm will grow if you drink. This is amazing. I don't understand the theory behind it at all. After gazing at my handmade healing potion, Granny shifted her eyes to me. Is it okay for me to take this? It's something made by me. And this is something made by you. So, it's an exchange. However, the medicine over here is more valuable than the one over there. The one over there contradicts the providence of nature, though it's ultimately just the providence of nature as I perceive it. Granny laughed. How regrettable. You'd make a great pharmacist if you seriously aimed for it. I want to run live experiments on people, but I'd hate to take responsibility if one of the specimens dies because I made a careless mistake. Also, I like making medicine, but long observations to confirm its efficacy is a major pain. Therefore I'm not cut out for it. I'm an adventurer, an occupation where I go on adventures. Once I threw out my chest, proudly stating so, Sword burst into laughter. If one listens to your talking about adventurers, they could get the impression that it's awfully relaxed and enjoyable. But it is. Just having to take care of your own life is relaxed and fun. No, as a business that makes things and sells them, you must take responsibility for whatever you sell, you know? Something like that is obviously a big no for me. It's a hobby, and it's just fine as a hobby. No one is going to complain about something made as part of a hobby. Now even Granny started to laugh. Thanks. Then I'll take you up on your offer. I'm free to use it as I like, right? Of course. I'll use this here as I please, too. Thanks. Then goodbye and farewell. Farewell. We left after I waved my hand. Granny kept waving hers all the time until I couldn't see her any longer. Chapter 41. You know how that pharmacist is going to use that potion, don't you? Obviously I've taken into account that my handmade potion would be used on family and friends without ever being sold. Sword laughed at my response. Don't make it sound like it's something made by some village child. In a certain sense, it's more amazing than special grade, isn't it? It can completely regrow bones, can't it? Sure can, but what if we ask whether it's really going to be a part of your own body? It's going to be a bone made out of magic elements, you know? I wouldn't be able to put my faith into it. Do you know how babies are made? For the most part, yeah. But if you're going to doubt that part, it'll immediately turn into a question why people are alive. No? Correct. That's why we should limit its use. In short, I'd like you to not consider it as regrowth, but rather as replacement of a missing, natural body part through magic elements. For this reason you can't really describe it as amazing. Well, if you say so. He caressed my head. On another note, if you claim that your handmade potion is obviously going to be used on family and friends, you've made handmade potions for me as well, haven't you? It'd be much better to not rely on them, you know? Rather, you'll get careless if you have the option, won't you? You'll believe that everything will get healed as long as you drink the potion, right? You think I'm such a careless bloke? Just think about it. I wouldn't be alive right now if I was so careless. I guess he got a point there. I took them out. Oh. These are mine? Let me tell you in advance. Those are potions exclusive to you. Sword looked at me with a stupefied look. Huh? These are healing potions with your body's information registered. so I'm telling you to not use them on anyone else. Sword froze. JJJJ used. When did you do something so scary? Shut it. It's better to compensate for the loss with your own cell tissue, isn't it? It's much easier for your body to get accustomed to them. After all, it's going to have the same genetic information. Once again, a bundle of incomprehensible, technical words. That's how these things are called. Probably, by chance, it might work, regardless of whether it's made out of magic elements or something else altogether, but you'd also hate it if I tried it on you and it didn't work as intended, right? Safety comes first, and if it's based on the same cell information, it should become mostly identical to the rest of your body. I shouted. In response, Sword ruffled my hair and accepted the potions. Good grief, just what am I going to do with you, Tilda? But alright. These are exclusively for me then. I've also given some to Ryoku. Either way, now you've got some as well. Don't make any mistakes, okay? Sword grinned broadly. Don't worry. Ain't like I'd let anyone drink special grade potions except for you. Just what is that guy blathering? Don't make me take any of them either. It wouldn't be funny at all if I ended up becoming a guy. What should I do if I suddenly grew out a dick? Sword is guffawing, but it's not funny at all, for heaven's sake. Asterisk. After stifling the laughter and putting away the potions, he looked at me with an apologetic expression. Somehow I'm only receiving stuff from you. Since he suddenly brought it up, I replied with a sullen look. It's the other way around. Aren't you paying for almost everything? No matter where we go and what we do, Sword pays for all of it. I know that it'd hurt his pride if he made a small child pay for things, but it troubles me. I do get your wish of wanting to be equal, but you see, there's no way I could make you pay for stuff. It's a matter of honor for me. I've been letting you pay without saying anything because I'm well aware of that. Since I let you pay for things even though I have my own thoughts on the matter, I want you to accept what I give you without any complaints, even if you have your own thoughts about it. Yeah. Shrugging it off, he swiftly put his arm around my neck. What is it? I like that part of you. Any ordinary Joe would have told me to cough up the dough since I'm rich as S rank anyway. You know? Well, I can understand that notion. It's the same feeling, or maybe I should call it weirdness, when a boss invites his subordinates out for drinks and then asks them to split the costs, or when men and women pay evenly during a mixer. N0VLSP.C0M. Well, that's all well and good. It follows the principle of getting treated in your young years, and then, in exchange, treating the young when you've grown old. No? Also, how about not treating me like an old man on the fly? He strangled my neck. I.don'.want.to.ou.I.want. to pay myself. Rather than feeling. Inferior. People. Should. Be. Equal. Though it might be a way of thinking that doesn't exist in this world. The difference in standing, the disparity between men and women, and the disparity of wealth are so striking over here. That's the very reason why I dislike this world. I'm a woman, and I only have the money I cheated out of that man. But I don't want to bend my knee to some ruler either. That's why I don't want to always feel inferior to Sword while being around him. Asterisk. At last Sword relaxed his hold on me. That somehow sounds like an interesting concept. Was it like that in the other world? As a concept, yeah, it was normal for men and women to be equal, social status to play no role, and being able to eat and wash your body every day even as a poor person. Though I should add that I'm talking about the country my otherworld self was born in. In this world, noble women are political tools of their families' patriarchs, commoners are disposable tools for nobles, and commoner women basically have no rights to speak of. Correct? I want to be equal to Sword while holding up my head high without having to bend my knee to some absolute authority. You might call it a boring insistence on my own pride, but I will firmly keep that attitude for the sake of standing next to Sword and succeeding as an adventurer. Asterisk. Guessing my feelings on the matter, Sword caressed my head. Don't worry. Gender disparity or difference in social status doesn't exist for adventurers. However, a distinction by rank is part of the show. That's no problem. Such concept is called abilityism in the other world. Anyway, as I had thought, adventurer is truly my calling. Sword laughed. You sure happy-go-lucky about this? Other adventurers don't think about it like that. It's just that they're ill-suited for other work. Adventurer is a job chosen by those with no money who hate having to lower their head, getting abused, or been pushed round. That in itself is alright, though. Suddenly I tried asking him something that popped up in my mind. How was it for you? The instant I asked, Sword froze. Kinda like he thought I wouldn't ask. Me? You're asking about me? Huh. I wonder. I feel like I had some dreams and hopes in the beginning, but those got crushed and trampled underfoot somewhere along the way, and before I realized, I had become an S rank. That's just like a song I've heard somewhere. Well, it's not like I had any particular dreams and hopes before landing here. I won't start preaching something like let's go on a big adventure to find the big treasure the Pirate King hid away before getting captured and executed. You know? Sword exploded into laughter. He finds it hilarious without actually understanding the meaning. Did you become an adventurer in the past while harboring such exaggerated dreams and hopes, or does such a legend possibly exist? When I asked him with a tinge of admiration, he roared, as if, are you saying that for real? I really don't get you, girl. He was flabbergasted, but I think this would be an objective for adventuring that's very easy to understand. And it'd be the very definition of what it means to have a dream. Sword placed a hand on his jaw, brooding. Let's see. Seen how I finally obtained you as my partner, and since we're talking about having dreams, how about we head to the dungeon in the capital, the kingdom's most challenging dungeon which no one beat so far, and clear it with just the two of us. Sword suggested, seemingly having come up with it on the fly. Still, a dungeon, huh? Well, it does have something of a dream. I think you're right. I suppose that's a reasonable dream to have. Only reasonable? I mean, an adventurer's dream isn't about exploring known dungeons, but finding new ones, isn't it? And isn't it about discovering the riches and treasures hidden in such unexplored dungeons? At very least it's got to be about exploring the toughest and biggest dungeon on this planet. In that case, we might as well aim for the top dungeon in the world. No, that would be the castle of the Demon King country. Sword told me. Okay, I see. So the Sir Dungeon Core is His Majesty the Demon King, huh? That definitely makes it worthwhile to capture the dungeon. Sword rolled his eyes. That's the least an adventurer's dream should entail, no? Discovering new monsters or finding untrodden continents, those things are the core of adventuring. Yeah. I got it now. I've fully understood that your idea of adventurers and the reality of adventurers got absolutely nothing to do with each other. Sword nodded as if having come to some kind of conclusion on his own. Why? Chapter 42. We entered the next town. How should I describe it? Woo. The whole place is packed with nothing but people wearing magician outfits. That's the kind of town it is. There's lots of people walking around in very roby clothes while holding very wandy staffs. The magicians gather in the town's west while the sorcerers stick to the east. I'd guess you'd be more interested in the east? No, I'm not interested. My learning period is over. Now I'm adventuring. I'm going to find the big treasure One Piece that's been hidden somewhere in the world on the Grand Line. I'll become Adventurer Pirate King. The hell's up with that? You can't find something that doesn't exist, and in the first place you told me you want me to take you along on sightseeing. It's my first time hearing anything about that kind of objective. Sword casually retorted. It looks like he considers it to be a bother, asterisk. As we're walking across the streets, we draw an awful amount of attention, or to be precise, the Yokus are. People are stopping and openly staring at them. Maybe they think they're monsters, even though they're so adorable. Sword's exclusive Yoku has been restlessly observing his surroundings full of keen interest. Mr. Sword, so much information. Wait. He said it. Why has your Yoku's hidden function been invoked? It's never happened for me, despite me doting so much on my Yoku. I had my temples ground again. Listen, girl, why have you added such a totally useless secret function anyway? It only startles me when he suddenly chats me up. Rather, the people around me always look at me with cold eyes since I end up carelessly answering. While we're having such a conversation, the people around us kick up a fuss, saying, "It talked." Or how does that work? But, you see, just talking is nothing special. After all, it's just a playback of my recorded voice, if it comes to the standard lines. Asterisk. Around the time when we were about to enter the Adventurer Guild, a grandpa in a navy blue robe cautioned us, at least I think that's what he intended, That's the Adventurer Guild. I exchanged a look with Sword. Is why we're entering it? The grandpa became dumbfounded upon Sword's response. Why would you go there if you operate such advanced golems? I think it would be more fitting for you to come to the Sorcerer Guild. Is it wrong if you don't go to the Sorcerer Guild while operating golems? I didn't know. No, we're adventurers. These are certainly golems, but they ain't ancient golems. They're something like toys made by her. What are you blathering, you dummy? My cute yokas are no toys. They're robots. Robots. Come to think of it, does building robots in reality enter the category of being a hobby? The grandpa is dumbstruck. Makes sense. I mean, they're way too big for being toys. Still, he really looks like a wizard as they appear in that super popular fairy tale. I wonder, is his appearance based on some customs? However, the ones of this world aren't like conductor sticks, but more like canes that could also be used for mountain climbing or beating someone to death. She made it? Yeah, I built them. It's all based on my own trials and errors, so they're different from this world's ancient golems or whatever you call them. Grandpa froze with his mouth gaping. Still, ancient golems, eh? If we're going by the usual template, technology was highly advanced in ancient times, and because they were built with such a sophisticated technology, they probably fight as long as you order them fight. And theories tell us that they perished in the blink of an eye after having developed their technology to such an extent. Or at least that's my guess. Oh, I just remembered. A new dream. Let's go search for ultra-advanced, ancient items sleeping on some unexplored continent. This is also a standard template. Even kids wouldn't think of becoming adventurers based on a dream that sounds like sleep talk. Or rather, ain't the stuff you're making already plenty ultra-advanced? It's much faster for you to build such items than searching for them. Where's the dream in that? Floating islands or some such don't exist either then? According to my otherworld knowledge, it's a convention for ancient ruins and items to be sleeping in such places. You're talking about dragon nests? Dragon nests? Floating islands have been turned into dragon nests. As might be expected, all dragons in a nest are going to attack you if you snoop around there. Sword warned me. I won't do anything as rude as entering the backyard of someone else without asking for permission first. I'd hate it if the place was full of excrements. I quickly gave up on the idea. As we're talking, Grandpa reboots, and immediately comes my way, trying to grab me. But Sword quickly prevented him from getting close. Sell me just one of these golems. Don't wanna. I instantly turned him down. Please. No, rather than begging me, you just need to ask a sorcerer, don't you? I built them as part of my hobby, so a genuine sorcerer would be able to build you a proper one. No? Grandpa looked at me blankly. You are no sorceress? I'm an adventurer. Not all people capable of using magic arts are magicians, not all people capable of cooking are cooks, and not all people capable of making magic tools are sorcerers. My main job is being an adventurer. Why are you no sorceress despite being able to make these? Calm down. Getting too excited might be sometimes good for the blood circulation and for speeding up the thinking of dulled minds because of the opening bracket adrenaline closing bracket that's secreted, but since blood vessels turn more brittle the older you become, it's quite possible for them to rupture if the blood circulation's speed or the blood pressure rise all of a sudden. Whoa, you're instigating him with a flood of small, complicated details. I'm not instigating anyone. I'm just worried about his health. I decide for myself how I live my life. I don't feel like justifying things to people I met just moments ago, nor do I need to. That's because he's someone completely unrelated to me. Well then, please excuse us. Sword pushed the grandpa aside and we entered the guild. I just hope he doesn't collapse. If he loses consciousness after the blood vessels in his brain ruptured, I wouldn't know whether a healing potion would be enough to fix it. Then he'd have desired it to the extent of his blood vessels rupturing, right? If he could have made it himself, he'd have done so a long time ago. Don't you think? He can make it himself. It's not that difficult. Moreover, it becomes even easier when he gathers a few more people. If you're asking what's so difficult about it, it'd be programming movements that any living being performs instinctively. Even just simple walking becomes super difficult if you have to word it out in detail like this. Don't ask others without putting at least that much effort into it yourself. Make things yourself instead. Sword consoled me by stroking my head. Did you also get upset when I simply told you to make me one? No, in the first place, I was the one asking you whether you want one. Just as I told you, the Yokas always collecting information through opening bracket parallelization closing bracket and share that information amongst each other. It's not like it's impossible for me to build another Yoka from scratch, but I don't want to. And I made an exclusive Yoka and passed it to you because it's you. Why must I give one of my cute Yokas to some stranger? Moreover, I wouldn't know how he'd be treating my Yoku, would I? I'd be troubled if he fed the Yoka with some weird information. I had considered making the Yoka I've left behind in our mansion join up with us, but he seems to be doted on so much that there's no need for me to do so. Moreover, the Yoka over there has become capable of chatting very smoothly. The same can't be said about my Yoku even though I'm showering him with so much love. Which reminds me, the Yoku under my direct control has gone out on a walk on his own accord without me knowing anything about it, and even got doted on by Granny. Why? Does he have some complaints about his working conditions? Then invoke that hidden command. Sword became puzzled due to me suddenly sulking. N0vlisp.c0m. What's up? Something wrong? I can't get Yoku to become emotionally attached to me. My shoulders shook with jolts. Wake up, girl. The Yokas are golems, not living beings, but golems. I know that. Chapter 43. We checked the requests at the guild. I don't see any requests that'd make my heart skip in excitement. I'm really envious of your positive mindset towards adventuring, you know. Sword said something to me, but I ignored it. Either way, we'll leave this place behind as soon as we've wrapped up everything. This is the territory of Bloody Witch. If we overstay our visit, things are going to become a hassle. What's with that phrasing as if they've got the land split in turfs? I see. So, is there any untrodden land to be found around here? I asked the receptionist. Hey, did you listen to what I've said? Sword butted in from the side. I got the part about turfs. But, going on an adventure in unexplored land is something different altogether, no? Yes, there is. The receptionist told me. In the northwestern forest you'll find a gloomy place covered by a layer of miasma and filled with the cries of monsters, where the sunlight doesn't reach. It's said that no one has ever come back alive after entering. They merely got punished by Bloody Witch, didn't they? Stop giving her wrong ideas. Oh, so you already knew? The receptionist stuck out her tongue. The Magician and Sorcery Guild have a lot of power in this town, and both are on bad terms with the Adventurer Guild. The goal of the adventurers around here is more about buying magic tools or utensils related to magic arts. It's also easier to get requests over at the other two guilds. Come to think of it, we got stopped at the entrance to the Adventurer Guild. The northwestern forest is the dwelling of Bloody Witch. If you enter without permission, you'll get blown away by all the spells and magic tools hurled at you from all over the place. So it's no untrodden land? People are living over there, right? Or is Miss Bloody a demon? A whip-wielding corpse mistress? Is that the setting here? I got it. Basically you want to say that Miss Bloody is no human, right? I'll ask her when I happen to run across her. Excuse me, I am terribly sorry. I will never say something like that again, so please forgive me. The receptionist lady performed a magnificent dojeza. After we left the guild, Sword said with a grim face, as you might have suspected, even I won't suggest spending the night in an inn over here. Camping out is much safer. If you're saying you've got no interest in magic tools, then let's finish up the request quickly and hurry along. Sword was awfully on edge. I surveyed the town around me, but yep, it's got nothing of interest. A magic street appearing in a city of fog when you hit some bricks in a certain order would have been extremely fascinating, but the magic tools around here are completely different. They've got no feel of fantasy, or rather, this town is more like a souvenir shop you'd find in a rustical hot spring district. If it had been me, I'd want to decorate the storefronts with things like flying brooms, talking pots, books fighting each other, or other such thrilling attractions that would make people's hearts throb in excitement. Your perception of thrilling is totally messed up. What would be the point in showcasing and such useless things? Are you looking for toy stores or what? Yeah, a store for assorted mischievous goods would be nice. Sweets where your nose starts bleeding as soon as you eat them or something along those lines. That's scary as fuck. Isn't that just plain old poison then? I can't get him to understand. Alright. A bank run by goblins or similar would be neat as well, I suppose. Sorry, but I've got no clue what you're talking about. I can't get him to understand to such an extent that he actually apologizes to me. Asterisk. I've understood that your feeling of thrill has gone completely haywire thanks to your otherworld knowledge. Sword brought up while we were heading towards the summit of a mountain. Moreover, he comes up with a tropic like that, despite being quite vigilant. Look. Having the mind of a child can also lead to technological development, you know. For example, the yokas. They're modeled after golems I adored very dearly. I've also made other things because I thought it'd be nice to have them, but I admire passion towards perfection. It's not like I want to straddle a broom and fly through the sky on it myself, so I wouldn't make one for such a reason, but I'd like to create a flying broom because of that passion. I've got no interest in it myself, but I'd love to see people flying on one. You're about the only person in this world harboring such a passion. In the first place, magic tools are mostly reproductions of ancient items. Huh? But that doesn't apply to clocks, does it? Indeed. But that's also the very reason it's spread so widely as a great magic tool. The folks hiding their magic tools are researching how to somehow rebuild ancient items they obtain for the most part. Because of that process, they've created tools of lower quality and derived tools to sell them for fun in their research. Try to give Yoku to that old bugger from earlier. He'd gleefully take Yoku apart. Eek! What was that? Are they dismantling maniacs or something? I'll never give them any of my Yokas. Asterisk. As we were chatting and walking with the ground under our feet crunching, I couldn't shake the bad feeling of being followed. When I glanced at Sword, he sighed. It looks like he had already noticed a while ago. Now then, what are we gonna do about this? What's the point in asking? If they come at us, we kill them. That's all there is to it. Whoa, you're truly straightforward, aren't you? Want me to show you how I dismantle them? I don't know whether they're going to have any edible parts though. Stop it, please. Stop it for real. If you go that far, you'll really leave the path of humanity for good. It was just a joke. But well, thinking about it now, I'm certainly a lot more level-headed than my otherworld self could have ever been. Even though she ate meat and fish, killing living beings was a no-go, and similar. But she killed bugs, despite not eating them. However, nowadays I've become able to kill without any hesitation. Yep, as I thought, my otherworld self and my current self are different beings. The me before collapsing was different as well. I've changed, but a part of me thinks that it's not really much of an issue. I might have changed while living in this world, but so what? Rather, I've obtained a personality that can make pretty clear cuts. I'm much more worried about Sword than myself. I mean, adventurer is a job where people can die easily, and yet he hasn't come to terms with that at all. If we're going for the thrill, intentionally going along with the other side's plan would be an option, too. It'd be much more exciting to resolve things with a big bang after things have grandly escalated. Sorry, I don't get at all what you're talking about. Once again I couldn't get him to understand to the extent that he apologized. And then I got hit on the head by his fist. Intentionally escalating things is no fun. Ouch ouch ouch. I rubbed my head. I mean, you and I can deal with most things without much of an effort, can't we? Even monsters end up dead in no time. You continuing to work as an adventurer despite being rich means you're looking for some kind of thrill, doesn't it? Otherwise you could simply retire with all the money and drink liquor every day. No? Sword faltered. And then he averted his face. I abandoned my dreams and hopes. But sometimes I feel like I might possibly rediscover those dreams and hopes at some point. Right? So, how about we try throwing the other side off their guard on this occasion? Let's not. Okay, in other words, you want to head into a dungeon then, right? Let's go to some dungeon with moderate difficulty to enjoy a feeling of excitement over what might drop if we defeat the boss. If we can't get any enjoyment out of a dungeon with moderate difficulty, we could also ask the Demon King to let us capture his castle. If we add the condition that we won't kill him, he might allow us to have some fun. Don't you think? Sword burst into laughter. And then he ruffled up my hair. Has it been a wise decision for me to not grow out my hair? This guy has the bad habit of always messing up the hair of other people. You're right. That sounds fun. The Demon King would be startled too, I'm sure. If we asked him something along the lines of "We won't kill you, so please let us play round by capturing your castle for the sake of enjoying a thrill." Well, if he doesn't get pissed off by that, I suppose he's going to let us have some fun. Since he finally gave it a break with messing up my hair, I tidied it up while saying, if the Demon King is a dungeon core, I believe he'll happily let us play since he'll be able to have a talk with us, you know? Look, dungeons are definitely entertainment facilities made by the dungeon cores. Ones where you bet your life though. A game with your life on the line? Quite so. It's very risky, but it's perfect for humans seeking out thrills. I mean, even if you simply walk on a road, you could lose your life after getting attacked by bandits. Hence, people should rather enjoy it while being aware of the risks. Not like it really matters, but what's with you always speaking about dungeon cores so formally? Never mind, it's about time for M to show up. It's no game, but don't kill M. I wanna talk to M. I don't feel like allowing them to talk to you though. You might take some mental damage again. At the moment when I was about to spell this out, I heard a get them. Alongside presences quickly closing in on us. N0VLISP.C0M, wind and lightning spells were incoming on Sword. On the other hand, the Yokas and I were confronted with incoming rope-like spells. Binding magic, huh? Sword dodged very quickly and I repelled them with my wooden sword. Yokas, you have permission to use the Gatling gun after deploying the barrier. Fire at will if the opponents attack. Aye sir. Yep. They're super adorable. The Yokas jumped up diagonally, and perched on trees. Hey, if they get hit by that, they're gonna die. No, Yoku, no. I don't really think that we need to keep all of them alive though. The Yokas took the middle ground between our instructions, firing their Gatling guns while aiming at the legs of the guys who cast offensive magic. 3 of them were incapacitated. Meanwhile I erased the binding spells fired at the Yokas. It was a simple job to flick them away with my wooden sword. Damn it. I don't care anymore even if you destroy them. Just get one of them. What? I charged at the person who gave the order. It was that grandpa. I thought you might have died after getting too excited, but it looks like you pulled through. I guess I should fix it now. Grandpa felt completely shaken. What? Do you know who I am? Sorry, but I don't feel like listening to any stereotypical introductions, you know? Some things are better left unknown in this world, right? Indra, wait, stop. Don't kill him. Sword cried out to me in panic. Don't worry, we'll pretend he died of a natural cause. You think you can fake it with this many people round? You idiot. He was too late. Sorry, you were too late. A vacuum pack attack. Space got isolated just around the grandpa. He got startled from suddenly being unable to breathe. Given that I was stopped by Sword, I immediately discontinued the spell, but the grandpa still collapsed with his eyes wide open. It seems the area around him suddenly turned into a vacuum after the wind flow changed. I guess he died while unable to breathe. It was an unfortunate accident. The end. Seeing that, the other assailants stopped attacking all at once and surrendered. Did you lose your will to resist? Even though I'd have been totally fine giving you a little show of dismantling at least one person by slicing them up and arranging them so that they look alive. I wonder whether that'd be enough for you to grasp my true ability and grit? Yeah, okay, you've shown your ability and backbone plentifully with just these words. Don't you think? So, could you stop at that? All assailants simultaneously nodded at Sword's remark. Chapter 44. For starters, we had everyone sit in Caesar while holding stones as means of reflecting on their wrongdoings. The grandpa didn't die, though he might have taken brain damage. For the time being I forced a healing potion down his throat, and now we were waiting to see whether that did the trick. Oh, it wasn't a big deal after all. He came back to his senses. Sword dropped his shoulders in disappointment. Looking at him, I said, to be honest, since you suffer mental damage so easily, I'd like you to go over there and wait till I'm done. He became lively all of a sudden and ground my temples. I admit, you've got a bold attitude of treating humans unrelated to you like monsters. But, for this very reason I'm way too scared to leave things to you. Why? Grandpa went for the super stereotypical statement of you think you'll get away with doing something like this to me? But as soon as I stabbed some needles between his nails and into his nether region, he immediately quieted down. Me warning, don't worry, these wounds only hurt but won't leave any lasting injuries. They'll quickly heal up once I pull the needles out. Though I'll stab them back in again, you know. Let's count how many dozen times I need to stab you before I get away with it. Was probably part of the reason why he became docile. After around 5 times, He reached a point of willingly fessing up his objectives. 2 additional stabs later I got stopped by my surroundings, and Grandpa had been fully reformed. 1 hour after hugging stones, the other guys fell prostrate, though I think it was partly owed to their legs having become numb. Everything got resolved so easily, and even without having to kill anyone. When I muttered that, everyone started to bawl. Yep, I was wrong. You're strong. At this point, you don't need to prove it anymore. But, I've decided to absolutely keep you away from any requests involving other people. Sword declared with a smile. The objective of Grandpa and his goons were Mariokas. Just as Sword had said, they apparently wanted to examine them by breaking them apart. I scolded Grandpa with a grin. Now listen, okay? Why are you trying to take the easy way by investigating the belongings of others after breaking them? You are a sorcerer and maker yourself, aren't you? Or is sorcerer a job where you break stuff? Are you a pervert who gets off from destroying things? Are you as a pervert even taking disciples? Wouldn't it be just as fine to dig holes and bury them? Digging holes and burying them, breaking the soil apart and restoring it. Rinse and repeat. That would be the most optimal method which wouldn't cause inconveniences to anyone. Dig holes and bury them. As long as you master the way how to make sorcery liquid, things like magic tools should pose no big problem to make. Building something from scratch with your own hands is one of the biggest joys, and yet you want to destroy things built by others? What's so fun about that? Prick up your ears. The Yokas are creations I built while pouring my passion into them. Do you know how many hardships I experienced until I finally managed to complete them? Do you know how much information I had to program into them until they could stand up straight? If you want to build golems, then observe living beings rather than dismantling golems. Even though humans can't even crawl at first, they become capable of walking on 2 feet. Carefully and thoroughly observe the entire process. Don't you know just how difficult it is to reach such a level? Most likely you don't. After all, you're a grandpa who's already standing in his coffin with 1 leg. No, I guess it's unrelated to your age. I'm pretty sure your character and talent hasn't changed over time. How pathetic. You break the things made by others, but you don't even possess the intelligence to understand such simple coherences. And yet you're clinging to your pride and authority which only flaunts your age. Behavior like that is what's meant with problems caused by the elderly. I think you dying might actually be of benefit for future generations. And not comprehending as much just shows how utterly pathetic you are. When I finished speaking, he was crying sorrowfully. I'm sure he must have been deeply touched by my wise words. Yep, you said something great there, me. As I was reassuring myself while repeatedly nodding, Sword's fist visited my head. Why? I said something so wonderful. Just why it was wonderful about any of it? On top of instigating him, you probably broke his heart. Now even I feel pity for him. Why? But he kinda became curious about building things himself, I think. *N0VLISP.C0M. Although we wasted time unnecessarily, let's finish up the request. We headed for the summit. Fog has come out. Huh? Suddenly visibility became bad and blurry as the area got covered by thick layers of fog. How nostalgic. Come to think of it, back in the other world, my other world self used to climb mountains. This feels kinda like that, doesn't it? Hey, this is Indra. Come to me. Yokas, you too. This is magic. This magic art belongs. When I turned around towards Sword's panicked voice, Sword became hazy at a very quick rate. He extended a hand, but before I could grab it, his hand vanished alongside the fog. The fog cleared up, but no Sword was to be found anywhere. Swood. I shouted, but no reply came back. Chapter 45. I forced my hazy consciousness awake. Got blood taste in my mouth since I've bit myself. As always, you're quite resistant to magic, aren't you? Any ordinary person would have slept a whole day. I shook my head to sober up since my sight was unfocused. How about not capturing me against my will, bloody witch? I said to the intelligent beauty with black hair and grey eyes peering down at me from above. Don't use that name. Looks like the news that I've come to this land had been immediately passed on to her. Had to be that receptionist Missy, I suppose. Means she's an underling bloody witch had infiltrated there since she got us to head over in this direction. They had put me to sleep on a bed, but I got up and sat down on a nearby sofa. Oh my, how about allowing your body to rest a bit longer? No matter how sturdy you might be, The spell still hasn't worn off, has it? Shut it. You think this here's a situation where I can sleep without a care? Looks like she truly thinks so. But I've got absolutely no clue what's going to happen if I don't get out of here at once. So, what's your business with me? After being at a loss for words, Bloody Witch suddenly shouted at me. What the hell are those golems? Moreover, just when did you find one with your own personal color? Spit it out. Where did you find them? Good grief. I had already expected that it might have been about that. Sorry, I didn't find it. It's a present. Bloody Witch became speechless. There's this girl who's got building golems as a hobby. I got one from her. You see, since it's her hobby, she only gives them to those she likes. Or rather, normally she wouldn't give them to anyone else. I mean, she's someone with a few screws loose, saying she's going to build them as a hobby and live her remaining years. Well, been served by M. I burst into laughter when remembering it. Therefore, that's all I got to say about this. According to her, anyone calling themselves magician or sorcerer should build them with their own hands instead of stealing from others. Her eyes shot up. Seems like she got pissed off as her pride got hurt. What was that? Does she understand at whom she's directing that? No matter who it might be and what they might say, that's the kind of girl she is. By the way, since her sword skills are at my level, you ain't got a chance of winning against her. Moreover, you won't find any common sense in her. I've got no idea what she's gonna do once she learns that her partner is been held in a place like this, so hurry it up and let me go. Or rather, it's going to get really dangerous if she goes into a frenzy and uses that big, taboo magic of hers. That said, I'm going back now. I can't really believe that she'd go into a frenzy, considering her usual calm demeanor, but if she were to calmly judge that I was dead and use a spell she herself calls taboo, things would get really scary. There's no way that I'll let you go back just like that, is there? Even though I was finally able to meet you after such a long time, I ignored her words. Towards the end. After all, I spotted Ryoku peeking into the room from outside the window. Shit, it's already too late, huh? In the next instant, magic was rapidly fired from Ryoku's right hand. The window frame alongside the surrounding wall were blown away. My personal Ryoku entered through the wrecked window. 10-0 Mr. Sword, I'm here to rescue you. Sure. Thanks, but I could have made it back myself. Also, I'm somewhat scared to ask, but what about Indra? She's drawing enemy attention to her by invading through the front door. I think we'll be able to join up with her in a little while. Bloody Witch got hit by the fragments of the wall and was now covered by dust. Yet, she was standing stock still, completely flabbergasted. Hey, just a moment, didn't it talk just now? Also, rapid-firing magic? Why did it enter through the window? This is a golem. No, it's no monster, right? He's a golem. He also sheds his skin, but he's still a golem. What can be heard through the door are even more amazing sounds of destruction and the panicked screams of people. Somehow I can't open the door since it's scary, but what should I do? It's somewhat noisy outside. Get away. At once I threw myself on Bloody Witch, who had approached the door, to protect her, resulting in us rolling across the floor. In the next instant, the entire wall, including the door, exploded and scattered. The thick clusters of dust were carried away by gusts of wind, and as might only be expected, an expressionless Indra became visible within the debris. Shit, she's totally pissed. I stood up while scratching my head. Once I staggered a bit, she immediately rushed over, propping me up. Hey, you okay? Rather, I almost got killed by you. Did you know that I was close to the door? It's alright. You're a tough guy, so magic that blows away a wall won't hurt you. No, it obviously will. Don't do it anymore, okay? Just what do you take me for? Don't judge me by your standards. If you were hit by a huge rock, the rock would crumble apart. I'm not that sturdy, okay? Our eyes met. I saw anxiety and fear in her eyes. Certainly if things are blown out of proportion, I could experience a thrill going beyond anything far, but I don't want to experience thrills to such an extent that I'd go as far as endangering your safety. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she began to tremble lightly. Once I hugged her, she hugged me back. You dummy, so you finally got it, huh? I was scared. You were gone all of a sudden. I was worried whether you're still alive. It was so frightening. As I stroked the sobbing girl in my arms, I remembered. I used to have a dream of going on adventures with my friends, capturing dungeons, beating monsters, going on journeys while laughing and helping each other, and someday we'd become the strongest with our party's name being famous across the whole world. Back then my friends and I excitedly talked about such silly dreams and hopes. But, in reality, only I became strong. My childhood friends with whom I had formed a party in the beginning grew estranged and started to hate me. Our relationship got twisted, and in the end I withdrew from their party myself. And afterwards I couldn't accept anyone as friend, no matter which party I joined. I got constantly deceived and exploited. Because of that, I discarded the dream and started to complete requests by myself. And without me noticing, I became an S-rank solo adventurer at some point, resulting in only my name becoming famous. In the same way, I amassed a big amount of cash without me realizing. Even though I wouldn't have minded to retire and live somewhere by myself, just like Indra had suggested, I still kept wandering the lands, unable to stop being an adventurer. All because I couldn't fully give up on the boring dream of adventuring together with my friends that I had lost somewhere along the road. That's the dream I recalled just now. It's still way too early for me to croak. I still haven't found any treasures that might have been hidden by some big bandit. Also, I still didn't ask the Demon King for permission to capture his castle. The value of adventurers lies in adventuring, right? So, unless I go on adventures with you, nothing is going to start either. Wanna go on adventures with me? MMH. I roughly stroked her head. Asterisk. So, with this out of the way, I looked around me. Okay. Their side was at fault, but she went too far. The mansion of Bloody Witch has turned into a half-ruin. I'm praying that no one got killed, but it'd be a miracle if that wasn't the case. After blankly staring at us for a while, Bloody Witch seemed to finally realize the state of her own mansion, and ran outside while screaming. Hey everyone, are you alright? Answer me if you're okay. While hearing her voice in the distance, I asked Indra, I'm scared to ask, but I suppose not asking isn't an option. How many did you kill on the way here? I still haven't killed anyone. They didn't seem interested in killing me, so I held back on them. I breathed out deeply. The way was somewhat forceful and rough, but I got invited into the mansion so far as it goes. Bloody Witch is that kind of a woman. She kidnaps others without caring about their circumstances. I somehow wanted to get out of here before being found out by her, but I breathed out once more. Well, it's a blessing that no one has died, otherwise we had definitely turned Bloody Witch into an enemy, which would have meant war. I'm certain that we'd have won, but I don't really feel like killing someone I fought side by side with in the past. Hello More Clan. We hope that each and every one of you is enjoying the collection of audiobooks available here. If you just want to support me or have a particular novel in mind that you'd like to request, please kindly click on the provided links below. Once again, thank you More Clan.